What the heck? Okay. Guys, I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. Everything just froze. Hold on. Let me.
Hey guys, looks like Jay has put me on a little bit too early, but welcome to the Mega J Retro live stream. And I think this is me. I think you can you hear me? Is my mic unmuted? Yeah, let me know in the comment section if you're receiving me nice and clear. Of course, this is myself, Ace from Ramen Toy, as we wait for our host, Jay, to come back. Yes,
Okay.
there we go.
What
There we
the
go. Yeah.
heck? Like
Yeah.
seriously, this completely, honestly. Okay, so I had this awesome introduction done. I was getting all this stuff ready, and as soon as I hit play on that video, boom! Everything crashes. Guys, thank you so much for being here on the stream. My name is Jay, and you know what? I had this whole introduction start. I wanted to do some cool things, but you know what? That's all out the window
We'll
now.
call it on the fly, kid.
All right.
Call the match on the fly.
That's right, exactly. Exactly what happens, like just like Jesse Body Ventura, you deal with it when you deal with it. That's basically what happens.
Yeah.
So guys, welcome to the stream, and I'm just going to go ahead and introduce everybody. My name is Jay, and of course I want to introduce you guys to my very special guest tonight. First of all, to my right is of course a friend of the channel and great provider of awesome 80s toys. We do have Ace from Ramen Toy. Ace, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Glad to be here.
And I don't think he needs any introduction. Honestly, he's one of the best YouTubers on YouTube, Canadian born, raised, and of course, a wonderful guy, all in his own, from Kitchener, Ontario. Guys, please welcome Michael Mercy, everybody.
Good day. Thanks for the lovely intro.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So glad that we could get everybody in the same stream tonight. This came together really, really quickly, and I thought this was going to be a lot of fun. So many different things happening in the toy world today. And you know what? It's great to get a perspective from somebody who actually produces toys, and of course, from a lifelong toy collector like Michael himself. If anybody hasn't already checked out both of their channels, please go check out Michael Mercy's channel. He does amazing retro videos on 80s nostalgia, obviously Centurions, and he also does, of course, Masters of the Universe, Transformers, and let's be honest, he does amazing videos on everything, including Brave Star, which is a wonderful cartoon which I love and grew up. Of course, Michael and I, we're right there. We're really in sync in terms of what we love. So definitely go check out Michael Mercy's channel, and
Thanks.
of course we do now have a wonderful channel of Ramen Toy, which they just posted their first video, and yeah, guys, very exciting. The video that they just posted is super amazing. Guys, please check it out, and if you're tuning in from Ramen Toy, definitely watch that video and then come back and join us, and let's chat a little bit. But guys, first of all, I'm gonna let my guests chat a little bit. So guys, how have you guys been? Let's start with Ace. Ace, how have you been? Things have changed a lot in the last couple of months for you. How's it going?
It's going as good as it can be. Do you hear some feedback?
A little
there
bit
we
of an
go.
echo.
Yeah, so I think Jay is having some issues. Anyway, guys, it's been as good as it can be. I'm still here, in China, processing, while the Chinese New Year is taking its course. And after that, I guess in the next week, we'll be back in business. And I'm excited to be able to check out some adjustments that we've made to the Quicksilver figure, as well as, as you guys have seen, the Monster prototype. So I'm going to be taking some time to look at those things that was previously on, in the processing stage till the Chinese New Year break. And during this Chinese New Year, I had a chance to really relax, unwind, basically just spending the time here in China, going about relaxing. In fact, I'm in a little town now here, and it's nice. It's a little place that has a nice river that's surrounding the little town, and it's very nostalgic. Not exactly 80s, but it's nostalgic, and I got a chance to like switch between hotels every day. I'm like experiencing the place. I'm really enjoying myself. So yeah, that's that. There you go. AJ is back. Yeah, and you're
You're
muted, I think. Okay,
You're
there we go.
muted, Jay.
I muted just because you
Okay.
guys were saying there was some feedback, so I muted just in case.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
me.
Okay.
So
Do you have any earbuds or a headset?
unfortunately, no. This is like this mic always works. I don't know why. Of course, we're having technical difficulties today. That seems to be the
Okay.
main issue right now. What I'll do is, Michael, while you're chatting a little bit, I'm going to go check my.
Oh no! Don't go solo screen on me. I'll just chat
Okay.
with Ace.
Absolutely. So,
'Cause,
so, of course. So, Michael, how are you? How's you today? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, but I'm really interested to talk to Ace about the whole the origin of Ramen Toys, how 80s Commanders came about, why. Like of all of the lines, I'm always saying, "Where's M.A.S.K?" Also, where are these guys?
Oh, cops. P.
Yeah.
Vest.
Yeah, Agent Baldwin P. Vest.
Yes.
But what made you decide on not Centurions to begin with, and then another? I love the obscure lines so much, so it's really cool to see your second project be SilverHawks after Centurions. But why'd you decide on those?
Well, so many questions there, Michael. I'll just jump right in.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'll just jump right in. So, guys, I mean, Michael, great questions, and I'm very much a big sharer myself. I like to share things. So, how Ramen Toy came about is quite simply a geek like myself trying to make the toys that I want and the toys that I love with a bit of a tad of my own creation in it, right? So, I mean, there was no way that we're going to replicate verbatim what the 80s items were, because that is just, first of all, not right. Not that I'm saying that everything is all kosher with the fact that it is 80s Commanders and not Centurions. I mean, the whole fandom should be able to understand that there are certain obstacles that comes in a way of producing these kind of properties and toys that we love.
I think that
And,
the Transformers fans really understand that, because there's been so many years of the great third-party Transformers inspired characters. So that's the same thing.
Right. So and there's another point to note is that the third-party makers don't actually appear on live streams and show their faces unless I'm mistaken, right? But I think that the important part of what we're doing is that we want to connect with the fans, because the fans must know that there is a real person behind the whole thing. That is not just some entity trying to churn out some things and get a quick return for profits, right? I mean, make no mistake that passion comes before the money, right? The money is not guaranteed, but the passion is guaranteed. What we're doing is genuine. What we're doing is with our best efforts, and we will keep improving along the way as we learn, because outrunning, even with me, with so many years of experience in China, in the factories, making products since when I was here, like the first Transformers movie, I was involved in the prototyping and development of like simple novelty toys like magnet hits and figure carabiners. Those are really simple stuff, non-articulated, just getting sure that the sculpt is correct. And even that itself runs into problems as simple as an item. So I think what's important to note is that in any item at all, to the uninitiated, it might seem to be something very simple, but the moment you actually go about doing it, you'll find that even the simplest things can have quite complicated problems. But that's that, right? So Ramen Toy came about because I felt that it is now or never. I'm 44 years old. How many more 10 years do I have to keep playing around? So I think the time is now. And in fact, I've started my own brand, which was back in 2014. So it's already been almost, 6-7 years since that. And along the way, I have wanted to incorporate what I'm doing now, but for fear of the inability to deliver something that is articulated or something that involves a property. So back in the day, I'm still doing right the aircraft models, but the fact that we need to do it now. So Ramen Toy came about last year, 2021, and it was initially just an idea to put out 80s Commanders without anything else on the horizon.
Mhm.
It was only with the success of the fans coming to our page. I mean, like 1,000 likes on Facebook within like a month, and now we're at almost like 5,000. So I think that's a great achievement considering my previous brand is only at 6,000 likes after being in the business for 7 years, right? So it's a big contrast. And I think that, with this direction of the 80s nostalgia, we're really getting a much bigger fan base, albeit our production runs are normally in the 1,000 range. Because even though there's a big fan base, it's still a very, very niche. You have to remember that where our stuff is not in the Walmarts, is not in the Targets, it's not getting distribution. As such, the production quantities are not in the tens of thousands. And that's the only reason why our prices are a little bit, over the top,
Yeah.
as you might realize. But it's just done by a fan for the fans. I've ranted on long enough.
That I have this phrase I've been using a lot lately: top grade fan made, and it's pretty obvious to me. I was able to play around with a test shot of the 80s Commanders, and it's pretty obvious to me when a fan designs something. Like you can see the little details and the things that I call unfinished business, the things I wished that I could have done if I had Centurions. I didn't have them, but if I had them back then, or I've had them for a while now, about 10 years, and there's things I wish I could do with them. Like I love them, but you can't do anything with them. Like you can barely move the arms up. I've broken an arm off of a couple of them just from moving them up. The legs don't have much range. There's just not much range with them. So playing around with those 80s Commanders and being able to have, the Earth Commander Jake, hold the rocket like that, like he did on the show, when the figure never ever even came close to doing that. It's really satisfying to be able to. It's not just about articulation. It's about recreating those iconic poses from the cartoon.
I totally agree. When I first had a chance, when actually, you know what, a little bit of history here, guys. One of the reasons why I'm doing live stream more often now is because of this guy right here. This guy right here actually gave me a whole bunch of tips on how to get a live stream going properly. I was using, funnily enough, we were talking a little bit earlier about Final Cut Pro and Adobe Premiere and Photoshop. I'm an old hand. I'm a graphic designer at Photoshop and Illustrator and all that stuff. But learning how to do, video and video editing, I think we all start from a certain place on the totem pole. And just like, Michael was saying earlier as well, we live in an age where you can literally just access all the information you can and learn on the fly. And you know what? That's what I had to do. I think that's what everyone has to do. And this guy, when I was doing one of my very first live streams, he popped in and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then, "Your camera's so bad." And I was like, "Okay, what should I do?" And you know what? I got a lot of early tips from Ace, and ever since then, I just evolved on how to do these live streams. And you know what? For me, it's absolutely beneficial. So the fact that anyone these days can actually come and do these things, it's so great. But sidetracking on that, I did want to say that, Michael, I totally agree with what you're saying. My first Centurion was Ace. No, sorry. My first Centurion and my absolute favorite Centurion will always be Max Ray. He had the what's it called, the Tom Selleck mustache.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was the leader of the group, right? And again, he had the best weapon systems, though. Honestly, obviously we all start with the standard weapon system, and then we get some of the other ones. I remember it was my birthday, and my mom actually got me Depth Charger. And I remember looking at that thing, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? It's huge. And the problem that comes up a lot is just like what Michael said. You want to do these iconic poses, right? But honestly, he literally just stands in the
arms straight out.
yeah, that's it. The best you can do is maybe get him to push the button on the side where the two torpedoes are. That's the best you can do with to kind of emulate that, right? But other than that, he's literally just standing there. And for me, I always take it as a personal challenge to try and get him to stand by himself, holding the whole depth charger without the second legs. I always just lift it up and see if I could actually balance him on just on his own legs. And I got it to do. I was able to do it once. Never again. I always had to use those two additional legs. It was just, again, classic stuff. Loved it. But with these guys, and you know what? This is what we're talking about, right? Seriously. When I first got to play with the test shots, honestly, I was just super impressed with where we were heading, where you were heading with this, Ace. That's what I was really impressed with it. You know, and I remember every step of the way, which is different compared to other crowdsourced projects. You would actually have updates, talking about how the pegs are a little bit loose, and you want the tolerances to be much better, and you were showing all that kind of stuff, and that to me was impressive, because it showed to me that a small boutique company like yourself, similar to the way Super 7 does their stuff, you guys thrive on whether or not the fans are willing to help you. And through feedback from the fans, you were able to get things to a certain degree. And now, we have the results. So, I was very, very impressed with how that whole campaign ran. So, thank you again. They're awesome.
Right. If I may touch on a bit on the technicalities of the joints, little known to maybe the collectors is that the reasons why some joints may not be as tight as others is due to the fact that even though we have a tooling, each joint, each part is unique, and each joint, each part has to be fine-tuned by the tool maker. And that's the challenge, because the tool maker is not me. I'm not the guy who is adjusting the tool. If I was the guy adjusting the tool, I would make sure that everything is to the micron, right? Because I have experience when I was in the tertiary education doing mechanical engineering. I was doing the tooling. I was doing lathe machines, milling machines. I know what it is, tolerance. I know the stuff. But when you are engaging a factory, a tool maker to conduct the business of that aspect on your behalf, you have to rely on the best that they can do. You can't. I mean, it's like going to a restaurant. You can't go into the kitchen yourself and then churn up that burger or that pizza, right? You have to rely on. So sometimes, not the best of examples, but sometimes, you get really good tooling. Sometimes you get, not so good tooling, and it all comes with cost, right? The best tool makers are the ones being taken up where they have no time to entertain your business, right? And you have to go and look for those who are able to, even though China is big, again, like I said, it's a very niche craftsmanship. We're not talking about robotics. We're talking about real humans doing the tooling. And these are dependent on the guy who's doing it. And the guy who's doing it is doing it as if it's a tooling and not as if it's an 80s commander. He doesn't know what this thing is going to be used for. So there is a lot of back and forth. Every time when we get something like, okay, this is too loose, tighten it might not be tightened on the second time, or it gets overly too tight.
Yeah.
So it's something that we need to, go along the way. And there is a important aspect to know is that we can't make it too tight, because once it's too tight, there's no turning back. You can make it loose first and try to tighten, but once it gets tightened, you can't turn back. It's sort of like shaving off the legs of the soldier who has an unbalanced leg, right? You can only add, but you can't just keep shaving. Anyways, I've ranted on long enough again.
No, that's a good analogy.
No, I like the anecdotes. They're hilarious.
What I really liked about the pegs on the 80s Commanders in particular, the pegs can be an issue on the original Centurions toys. They can break off or just get loose because of pop in, pop out, and they just won't stay in anymore. And part of the thing with me with toy collecting is it's not just something that looks good. It's something that feels good. And that doesn't just mean plastic. I mean, some of us can be plastic aficionados and we go, ooh, nice plastic. But it's also about just how things move and how things fit together. I love how the pegs fit in 80s Commanders because I have that experience with the originals, and it's like, oh man, these could be better. The way you have it, they're snug, but they don't ever feel like they're going to break. The plastic is perfect. It's not too floppy. It's not too rigid. It's just right. So every time I was popping weapon systems in and out, it never felt like they were going to fall out on me. I felt like I could shake it around and it wouldn't fly all over the place. And it never felt like after the 20th time of doing this is going to break. So, that'll be a shame. Like it feels really durable, like a toy is supposed to be as well.
Right. Well, on that subject, if I may, we did get some feedback about how the toy doesn't feel quality. Some people saying that it's a low quality plastic, but I have to be honest now and say that the plastic is exactly the same as any plastic used by the top brands. It's called PVC and it's called ABS. These two plastics don't change, and they're the same in the industry.
Yeah.
The only reason why people might have a difference of opinion, it might be a feeling thing, because when they hold another figure that's really solid, like not hollow, then they feel that, oh, maybe it's better quality per se. The reasons why our commanders are not as heavy is because in order for us to mold those holes as accurately as possible, it has to be two separated parts, meaning that when you separate the part, inside is hollow, right? So when you put the parts together, I mean, we can't do a completely solid half and half. It has to have cavities inside, and that's the nature of doing a part.
That's what the
if
originals
you have,
were.
Yeah. And
exactly.
if I may, the additional removal of those pieces where the holes that reduces weight as well. I mean, like those holes are missing, right? The plastic in there no longer exists. So of course there's going to be less weight, based from an 80s Commander. And we also have to talk about the fact that there are limitations of the 80s Commander. I mean, you can't have an ab crunch. It's impossible. You just can't do it, because if there was an ab crunch here, you wouldn't be able to attach, any of the weapon systems at the front, right? These are things which have to be taken into account when things like this happen. But for me, I was just honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. When I first heard about this, I was watching the Foosh, right, with Robo, and I was seriously, I was just watching one of his toy updates on Fridays, and all of a sudden I saw 80s Commander, and he's like, they're not Centurions, they're not Centurions. And I was like, that's hilarious. And then the imagination just started flying, because I saw these 3D renders, and I was like, who are these guys? And it's ironic, Ace, because you and I had we never met. Nothing ever happened, but you came on my stream for whatever reason. That's how you helped me. Again, it's just kismet, right? It's just one of those funny things that happens. But man, I got to tell you, here's something that I do have to say, and I think people just don't give enough credit to small companies like yours. And the reason I say that is because let's take somebody like Hasbro. They do a HasLab project, right? And they're asking people for a certain amount of pledges, and they have to reach a certain goal to actually get somewhere. After they get the goal, right, then they say, okay, this is going to take a year and a half to produce. Ramen Toy asked for money, like not pledges. They asked for pre-orders, which is fine, right? That's what Super 7 does. But Super 7 also takes about a year and a half, whereas Ramen Toy, pretty much as soon as the pledges were made, in a little over 8 months, 9 months, you pretty much had already had everything in the go, and everything was moving. I've never seen any other toy company move that quickly. So, in terms of getting it done, the passion that's behind this project, I think that has to be applauded, or at least acknowledged. So for me, that's insane. I've never seen that happen before so quickly, like, honestly.
Well, I have to add a little bit on that just to level the playing field. We are only one project, and we can be like laser focused. The companies that you mentioned have various projects going on, and that entails a lot more effort. And I think sometimes when you have your resources, even though as big as you are, because simply that you have so many projects, that those resources have to put them in a queue. And that actually explains why some of the projects that you've mentioned is taking longer than usual. That is from my experience. So same thing would happen if we are now loaded with more than just one project. We might face the same issues.
Understood.
So
But
humble.
absolutely, absolutely,
Hey,
exactly what I was like.
I'd like to ask a question on behalf of Micah here. Good brother Micah, good friend of mine. He's asking, can you guys do a Rex Charger or someone who looks a lot like Rex Charger, the Centurion that didn't get released? Also John Thunder. So there were two Centurions. The prototypes were made. They never released them back in the day, although the prototypes are in the catalogs. And that's a huge piece of unfinished business for Centurions fans. Any plans? I know it all depends on how successful it goes, but are you thinking about Rex and John Thunder or people who kind of look like them?
You see, Michael, the intention is definitely there to fulfill this unfinished business, but we might have to wait a little bit longer simply because that, again, we have limited resources.
Yeah.
And unlike the first three, which are much more well-known in the fandom, these two are lesser known. So we are unsure on a financial standpoint what would be the result should we embark on this, right? So I think, and the fact is that we might have to consider the real crowdfunding avenues when discussing such projects, because it's really not as simple as people think that, just make another figure.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of I would say the main thing, money that's pumped into it. And what collectors might not understand is that we don't have millions of dollars in the bank. We only have what we have. As a collector like you and you, right? We are not like backed by any venture capitalists. We don't have rich dads or uncles who have just money floating around. We are really just doing the math as closely as we can to make sure things work out. Because again, what the collectors must also understand is that the reason why things are priced in a certain way is such that we, at the end of the day, we have to make a margin back so that this margin can be used to fund other projects. Because if every project is a break-even project, then how do we even progress, right? So this is something that I think I might be dwelling into. I might be going off tangent, right? I just want toys. I just want the figures. Why are you telling me all this? But this is what it's all about. And so getting back to you, we are very much in the pipeline for these two. In fact, we've done some research on how to actually do it in our flavor. But again, like I said, it could be something that we take on ourselves simply because we can, do the math, and if it's all good, we can do it ourselves, or it might go onto a crowdfunding platform. But then again, because it has an associated license, that crowdfunding platform might not agree or approve such a project. So there are conundrums that we are facing with between a rock and a hard place. But like I said, if the passion remains, that is here, and sometimes you just gotta, sometimes indeed you need to get the support of the community and the fan base to really, rile you on, right? If you are in a stadium and your player and the fans are booing, then it sort of affects the morale of the player, right? So it's like that. We're all human. So the important thing is to keep it up, get the positive energy. We're here to do something for everyone. It's not just for me and for the guy backstage. It's for everyone. And we have also got to tread very carefully because we don't want to be like, wait a minute, the big boys are saying, what are these guys doing? They shouldn't be doing this. So we just want to make sure that we are, as much as possible. Like I said, I would love to do everything legit and stuff, but there are constraints that I've mentioned to you, Michael, backstage before we went on air, and we could talk about that, later on or something. But indeed, these are the constraints. Back to John Thunder and Rex Charger, we have them in the pipeline to answer your question, but it might take a little bit more time.
Would Rex glow in the dark?
There are such things called the glow-in-the-dark materials.
Yeah. See, what I'm thinking is everyone has their dream version of the figure, but they also have their dream price. And when I first started getting third-party Transformers, that's when I learned how this works. So I had been getting Transformers at the store for a decent price. And then when the very first third-party Transformers, I think it was the company that morphed into Fans Toys, and the price on them was like, whoa, why is it so much more? And I realized because it's a smaller company, less resources, smaller run. Hey, do you want it? You're going to pay for it. That's just how it works with these specialty smaller lines. So that's what taught me that, if you want your dream figure and a fan is going to make it for you, it's going to cost a lot more than it would at Walmart. And I just know Rex Charger, he would probably have to be more than the others if he's going to glow in the dark. Like for me, he would have to glow in the dark. That's part of his character. But I also accept he's going to be more because that's more money, more expensive glow in the dark material or paint, whatever it would you'd be using on him.
Actually, to maybe help you out there, if we use glow-in-the-dark paint, it wouldn't really affect the price that much.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm personally, I would prefer glow-in-the-dark plastic, but, I try to be realistic with, the
plastic paint is the same thing. Sometimes, because of the fact that we have evolved in terms of the manufacturing, part of the business, what was unattainable back in the 80s is now readily available, the technology that you can do it. So comparing like glow-in-the-dark injected plastic and glow-in-the-dark paint is essentially the same thing, but it could just provide maybe a more long-lasting effect of the paint versus the plastic. That's it. Yeah.
Right. I've seen a whole bunch of people asking about Brave Star. I don't know. Do we want to talk about the good Marshal and the big part?
First of all, before we do that, we do have one super chat here from Timothy Hans. Timothy, thank you so much for the super chat. You are amazing, my friend, as always. Awesome support of the channel. Timothy does say, "Hey guys, looks like a situation to finish the unfinished business of Centurions." So yes, I think definitely Michael's catchphrase there, and I love the logo you always make for unfinished business there, Michael. We gotta shop that around a little. You gotta copyright that thing. That's hilarious.
I gotta make a T-shirt of that.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I think it's fitting that it's taken this long to do a shirt of it.
I do think so. I think that's absolutely what we should be doing. 100%.
The shirt is unfinished business.
100%. I'm gonna have to ban this person. Hold on for a second. Sorry, guys.
M.A.S.K. A lot of people are talking about M.A.S.K. too. And I was chatting a little bit with Ace before we went on, and Ace is a fan of all of the old lines.
You know
not
what?
Just Centurions, but
First of all, Timothy, thank you again for that. I think we can say that this definitely is unfinished business, and Ramen Toy is trying their best to do that. What are your comments on that, though, Ace? Just before we start talking about new business other than unfinished business.
Which one? Talk about what?
Oh, so the idea of continuing the Centurions line. Like, are you looking?
Oh yeah, we are.
Weapon systems.
We are definitely continuing. Yeah, we're definitely continuing.
Yeah. After all, we and I don't want to. Unfortunately, I can't do it right now. I don't want to risk crashing the stream again. But the last video you posted on your YouTube channel is very exciting. We do have the what was it? The cyborg nemesis. What
the antagonist cyborg.
The antagonists. Yes. Oh my gosh.
The bad guys.
Michael, did you see him?
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. I saw a comment earlier on. Someone was asking, will he have kind of the wash style that the test shots had, that the first run had, or will
that's a good question.
Have more of a the cartoon?
All right. Okay, so this has been a question that I would have liked to address on this live stream. And before I do that, let me just rewind back to the advent of the 80s commanders. So the whole idea of putting up the 80s commanders was to do the commanders in a way that I would have liked them to be, which is, gritty and realistic and with a wash. However, having already released the commanders, then we had a whole host of feedback that the fans said that it's not the right color as compared to what they are used to. I have to again underline that they were never meant to be the correct colors, so to speak, the correct colors, because the 80s commanders was supposed to be a reimagined line of figures taking inspiration from the 80s toys, and that was the way how they would look, the way I had imagined them to be. Of course, thanks to the very talented sculptor that we're working with to create this particular look. And myself being from a military fan of like military aircraft and armor, so that would fit very well with the way my mind works in terms of mechanical stuff and commanders, right? So those were the colors that we chose, because you can't really have bright colors for a realistic rendition of the figures. Now, having done the first line and having received those comments, then we had a bit of like a light bulb that, okay, it seems like there is a demand for the correct colors, which is why we went ahead to do the correct colors just for you guys. If it were me, I would not have done those colors at all, because as I've said, these commanders were meant to be as realistic as they can be, but keeping the aesthetics that you can recognize them and relate to them as what you love back in the 80s. We don't want to design them too overly different, such that it looks like something else instead of something that we love. So we kept that, that balance, but importantly, the colors had to be initially real life, military and stuff. Now, since the demand, and we have shown, right, that we are listening to you and giving you the right colors, going forward, the reason how these new characters would obviously be catered to what the masses wants. Mm-hmm. And the masses would want the right color. Now, if what I'm calculating is correct, the demand for the weathering would be lesser than the non-weathered. So just like how, if I may draw a comparison example from the Aoshima Airwolf back in the middle 2000, they released a weathered and non-weathered version at the same time, so that distributors can collect the orders and they can make to order. So we'll do it this way, whereby we will release the character, as you have mentioned, the one in the video, and the antagonist cyborg, and we will offer both the weathered and unweathered version for you to place your orders. But there wouldn't be a difference of color per se, because we want to do one run. We don't want to do 2 runs of 2 colors. Again, let me bring it back again. The only reason why the original commanders are that color compared to the new colors, because the new colors are done for you guys. You guys wanted the new colors, right? And going forward, because you guys want the new colors and the animation accurate colors, we're going to go with that, right? There wouldn't be a dumbed down or dull coloration for these characters, just so that they can fit with the original tree. If you're hearing me right, but there will be, a wash and unwashed version on the same color, so that those who want to at least match the wash with the originals can have the chance to do so, and that would be the best case scenario.
Okay, and on that note, and I know that you've never shied away from this, so we might as well just get this out of the way. There's been a lot of talk, since we're all just talking right now, but there's been a lot
Yeah.
of talk about how, and we might as well address it, right? So there's been a lot of talk about how, these versions, right? These versions, and it actually says it right here. It says, where's it? Stop it. That little sticker says that this is the, what does it actually say? It says
Early
this is
bird.
the early bird
Yeah.
offer. These ones come with
Yeah.
the, what's it called? The poster, right? The actual backdrop. But at the same time, I think a lot of people have been questioning, right? And then that these ones were not supposed to be reproduced. And I think what a lot of people are misunderstanding is that the ones with the wash, the ones with the actual these particular faces as well, right? I think
Yeah.
that these were the ones which were never going to be reissued, right?
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
ones that are being issued now are actually the cartoon versions, which have been asked by so many different people who wanted the cartoon versions. So that's actually now what you're giving the people. You're actually giving people what they actually wanted, which was the cartoon versions. Can you just make a small comment on that, Ace?
Yeah, exactly. We want to make sure that all our productions are always a one-time limited production, and that's it. We won't do a reissue unless something so calamitous comes along and say, oh, we have to do this otherwise, right? So everything is done in a one-time production, limited production. It will never be rerun. And the fact is that those faces, those colors with that weathering will never be done again. Exactly. Yeah.
One and done. So I'm just curious, for the people who got the original ones and they see the pictures of the new ones and they think, oh, if I had a time machine, I would have waited. Can they sell the original ones? Like, what are they like? I'm just wondering about the value if they go and sell them on eBay. I would imagine that they would be worth every penny that they paid, if not more, because that's usually what happens, with these, third-party fan-made toys. Like if you get it, I've seen it in Transformers all the time, where a company will do an original run and then they'll do like the metallic run or something, cartoon accurate run. And they, instead of going, oh man, that sucks, they sell it for more than what they bought it for, and then they get the new one for cheaper.
Yeah,
Right.
I've noticed that myself. That especially especially with limited run figures like this, right? That's the scarcity is what really helps to sell it as a product. The other thing is that the Centurion's market is a really dedicated group of fans. So I think anybody who missed out on the first one and they like the the weathered paint app style, I think that they would definitely be chomping at the bit for that. Having said
It works nicer. Like the weathering works beautiful on these new modern superposable figures, and I'm thinking that I can't help but wonder, like, if someone's going to get them both, in their hands, and they were thinking, oh, I was going to like the cartoon paint job more. After a while, after you've had them and gotten used to them, I wonder if they're going to go, actually, like, since this doesn't look like an 80s toy, this looks like a modern interpretation, inspired by the original one. They might appreciate that wash a little bit more. Because when I first opened them, I thought, oh, wash, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting it. But as time has gone on, I've really grown to appreciate the wash because they're just so realistic looking. They don't look like cartoons. They look like what a Centurion in real life would look like. So I've just grown to appreciate the wash a lot more.
Thank you.
But
I guess to add to that, there are collectors that would want something as pristine as possible versus what I think they would have seen done by the bigger brands, which is sort of haphazard when they sort of dry brush something or sort of make something black. It's like all over the place.
Yeah.
So I think they have their concerns, and even when I saw Jay's review of the Razor Crest, there was a part whereby the panel was taken off right? And if you notice that side of the panel, there's a big goo of black, which is kind of not so good for a
Yeah,
large
it's
price
it's an
item.
overspill from the it's an overspill from the thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's a
yeah.
blemish.
So that
It's a
could have
blemish.
easily been cleaned off at the factory, right? Because that part, it's just so stark that there's a clear, clean surface, and then that all black goo over there. So yeah, I mean, this is part of the experience of part and parcel of doing, weathering at the factory level, because the factory workers are not modelers. They just apply the wash as they're told to, like that, right? So you yes, you have like more experienced workers working on faces. Yes, you have that, but every single face costs a lot more than what the conventional face would cost, and it's all like that. Every cent goes into every skill. If you want the wash to be like pristine, no spillovers, everything is good, you have to get someone, pay someone to get down there to look at it, and you have to get those people at the factory to doubly work at it. So it all boils down to cost and time,
Yeah.
and which uh, brand or which maker has that resources to go and do all those things. For most part, again, don't get me wrong here, for most part, most people wouldn't even notice that it's overspilled and it's not done the right way. Only the initiated, like the modeler, the people who are really able to see that, oh, the bat symbol is printed off center a little bit, right? We're always looking for all this. Then yes, to those people like us, we can see those things. But to the regular collector, again, no disrespect, you don't notice it at all.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. These are people who are, these people who work hard at these factories. They're doing this day in and day out, and the even just a small overspill, which you did mention from the review that I did with the Razor Crest. Of course, they're not going to take the time to actually go in there and wipe that out. No one's going to see it. The reality, right? The only reason we noticed it is because again, we are fans and we're critical about these types of things. But there's the other thing. There is the idea that fans are absolutely critical about what they purchase, and sometimes, and here's the other thing too. Not every one of these figures is going to be exactly the same. Some people are going to get small tolerances, which are not exactly to spec, and some people are going to get the perfect figure. For anybody who has been following the Carbonics Blitzway Voltron, there are basically there are two posts that are floating around right now about a couple of Voltrons which have just completely broken on delivery, and the whole community is focusing on that small one post, right? And I've searched everywhere. I've searched everywhere for another maybe two or three or four different posts where there's another Voltron that's literally fallen apart. I cannot find it. At most, I've been able to find two examples of Voltron. The current Voltron breaking in any sort of manner. And in most cases, it's just like small blemishes on the paint, little defects here and there, but nothing so catastrophic as a full broke Voltron. But the community itself, and again, we're all passionate, right? This is what we do. Michael, you've spent a long time, going to conventions and picking, the best deals, right? Trying to complete your collection. And of
Are you
course,
calling me cheap?
I'm not calling you cheap. I'm calling you frugal.
Okay, I'll call me cheap.
I'm calling you smart. But what it is you're looking for the best card. You're looking for
Yeah.
all the best things that make that figure what you want to collect. Same thing with me. When I open up a figure and I see that and it's happening with a lot of the Master Universe figures. Their eyes are actually misprinted. They're slightly off center, or the slightly
Yeah.
that really bugs me. I mean, it's just what it is, and I try my best to find the best looking ones. So, the ones that are going to be reported on message boards are going to be the defects, are going to be the problems. That's always going to be the case. And you know what? In some cases, some people who are very critical about this also have YouTube channels and also have Instagram accounts, and unfortunately, that's what a lot of people hear. But for the people who have been dying for this, right? For me, for example, and I don't know about Michael, but I'm pretty sure Michael feels the same. We've been dying for these things forever, seriously. And things
Yeah.
and figures that can actually articulate the way these do. Again, chef's kiss, right, Michael?
I talked to a friend a while ago, and I mean, it using this phrase really doesn't do these figures justice, the 80s Commanders justice. But I said they're better than nothing. And, that makes it sound like they're not any good. They're fantastic. But for, the things that some people might not like about them, the other option is they don't exist. What if they didn't exist? So would you rather have this or nothing? And we didn't just get some Centurion. It's like we didn't just get a reaction Centurion figure. We got this superposable, great, joints, awesome detail in the figure as well as the weapon system. It's fantastic. So, different strokes for different folks. If some people aren't into it, then go buy something else. But as a big Centurions fan, I was really, really impressed with them.
For me, what really brought it home to, and I understand people's, the way people have reacted. I understand that. I get it. But literally, as soon as the first set of 80s Commanders were brought out, a company like Ramen Toy, who, again, this will probably own, and I don't know if you guys agree with me. This is just my opinion. But any other company out there would pretty much, have a mold and, reprint it, 2-3 times, down a year down the line, whatever. But in this case, a company has actually come. They said everyone is being a little critical about the faces. Everyone wants a different color. Let's improve what we've already got. Let's go back and let's make this product better. And you know what? When I saw that announcement, because Ace, you and I don't talk every single day. I mean, I was literally.
I've been getting busy. Yeah,
I was literally shocked. I was like, "What? What? You're making even better faces than they were before?" I was completely blown away. And then to find out that a mutual friend of ours, was actually involved and helped with the. Some of the paint features. I was even more shocked. I was like, how does this happen? How does, again, it's Kismet. It's such a small place, right? So I was really shocked. And you know what? For me, I look at that as I'm a guy who looks at the glass half full instead of half empty. I look at it as an opportunity. I look at that as like, wow, here's another set of figures that I can collect, and have 2 sets of Centurions on my 80s Commanders on my shelf, right? But I understand where people are coming from. Some people are just saying, "Oh, it's too soon," right? You could have waited a little longer. But we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what happens, and sometimes passion takes over, right? If I want to get something done, I want to do it now, and that's the way I felt. I felt like you were doing it because you felt just you had to do it.
Well, if I can touch on that, Jay, and not to sound morbid, but for me, it's a simple realization that you can't guarantee when is tomorrow, right? There used to be a bit of a story that I heard where the guy is at a petrol station and he has a sign. There's a sign at the petrol station that says that today water is free, tomorrow petrol is free. So the guy saw the sign, okay, I'm going to come back tomorrow and get petrol. And when it comes back tomorrow, the guy at the petrol station looked at the sign again. Today, water is free. Tomorrow, petrol is free. So tomorrow actually never comes. And for me, I don't know what tomorrow holds, and would I be here tomorrow, right? So why not do it now, what I want to do before it's too late? So that's the rationale in terms of our development. We want to do it now. We want to get things done now as soon as possible. We are already working on, we're really pulling our resources to work on the projects for this year as well as for next year. We've already planned them, right? So, I'm not trying to put too many things on our plate, which was one of the comments that we received, right? They said that, don't try to do too much things and spread yourself out too thinly. Mm-hmm. Focus on finishing all the 80s Commanders first. But I think that is not the right way because that might show that we're like a one-trick pony doing only 80s Commanders all the way. We have to allocate resources to start developing and start amassing the other community doesn't mean that the 80s commanders buyers will definitely buy Quicksilver and vice versa, right? So we have to start amassing the people and start gathering data on what works and what doesn't work. And along the way, we'll still keep producing 80s commanders as we have envisioned them and trying to complete as much as possible what this line should look like when it's completed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very well said. I've really enjoyed that story too.
Absolutely.
And I think it is important. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. We hear that all the time. Like all the wise men say that tomorrow is never promised. But maybe we should all just kind of try to dwell on that a little bit more and put the phone down for a second after the live stream, of course. Turn the TV off and just sit there for maybe 5 minutes and wonder, what if tomorrow never came for you or for one of your loved ones? What if it never came? Enjoy what you got. You know, the 80s commanders that have been released are fantastic. Enjoy those. Don't worry too much about the ones that are to come. If they come, awesome. Enjoy them. Take a moment to sit down and enjoy them when they come, instead of always looking into the future and just always craving instead of savoring.
Absolutely, and I think that with the situation around the world that's happening right now, shipping concerns and just scarcity of material goods, I think we all have to look into that and just say, hey, you know what? I got this in less than a year. Any other company out there would take a year and even blame the situation around the world for what's happening, right? Instead, we got companies like Ramen Toy that basically went the extra mile and got it to everybody on time and fulfilled their promises. Where other companies would just make excuses like, oh yeah, this happened, and this happened. So we do have to look at in my opinion, I think we should all try to look at the glass half full rather than half empty. So I'm trying to be fair, and I'm trying to cycle through some questions just so people can acknowledge that they've been that I'm not ignoring them. The reality is that a format like this is always difficult to really highlight people's questions. So, but I did want to actually bring this one up. This one's actually an interesting idea. Road Pig John says, "Hey Jay, ask Ace if he can make a poll with several 80s properties, so he knows which ones of them is more popular, and he can get the backing of the majority." That's an interesting idea.
Transformers wins.
I know.
Well. On that note, again, I always give honest answers from the heart, and I'm not looking at a poll to see what is popular and then do that, because I need to make sure that I am able to do it. The passion must come from me. I must be able to understand it and do it, versus giving me something that I've totally not. For example, cops. You showed me cops just now. We never had cops in Singapore. So I wouldn't understand cops. I wouldn't have the feel for cops, and I wouldn't make a good cop.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. So it's I mean, I understand if it's like, oh shucks, but that's where I have to do something that I can really put that heart and soul into, versus okay, let's give me the next thing. All right, let's do it. Let's do this. Let's just do some research and let's get out of the door. No, that's not Ramen Toy, right? It has to be first a passion project.
So what then, and I totally relate to that, because some of the videos that I've done that people enjoy are the ones I'm passionate about. And then I get requests for, can you do this Starcom thing? And I go, I know nothing about I can't do like a big passionate 20-minute Starcom video. I'll do a history of it for sure, but it's just like on a particular one, I have no nostalgia or love. So it'll be more informational than, personal. But on that note, Ace, what would your list then be of properties you're passionate about that you would be willing to put on a poll for people to vote on?
I'm also very interested. What are you thinking about right now?
Okay. So I'm definitely a fan of the look of Marshall Bravestar. Okay. Again, I'm not the kind of guy who is in depth into the whole animation and cartoon. For example, I've never watched He-Man, right? I only bought the toys, and I've not watched M.A.S.K. all the way. I've a few episodes here and there, But as a kid growing up in Singapore, there is a school. The cartoons are broadcast on a certain time of day where I'm in school, or when I just get back, it's finished, and we don't have reruns back in the day, right? Even though we have them available on platforms such as YouTube nowadays, but I don't have the time to go start watching all the things that I've missed as a kid. Life is such that you can't wait and then do everything at one go. If you read a book, you should read it day by day versus keeping a whole stack of books and then let's finish them all at one go. It doesn't work that way. So I can confess that I'm not as into a property as many of you guys are, but I am passionate about certain outlooks and certain properties because I'm able to relate to them, as I said before. So Marshall, Brave Star, and 3030 is something that I can relate to. I'm definitely relatable to Visionaries. I am, as mentioned, quite relatable to Starcom, and we're doing SilverHawks now, and I think those are, and of course, Mobile Armored Strike Command. So if for those who are in the stream, you guys are giving a treat because the pictures that I've released earlier, the two blurred pictures, is associated with what I just mentioned. So that is the big reveal for those who can connect the dots, right? But there'll be definitely more information to come in the coming months for sure. We'd like to, okay, this is the thing, right? I'm sidetracking a little bit, but this is the thing. I think the way most companies would do it is that the reason why things are kept confidential is because they don't want any competition and they don't want any leaks. And if I may, I'm not comparing myself with Apple, but if I may, so for example, Apple comes up in a show, and was it the event, and then they said that the new iPhone is available next week, but obviously they didn't develop it like 2 weeks ago, right? It was a whole time of development, and then they reveal it, and then customers want it now. So getting back to this toy thing, brands and companies want to keep everything tight-lit so that when they release a prototype image, most likely they're already tooling it versus showing the prototype. But on our case, we're different. We actually show you real-time development of what we're doing. So if I don't have something in hand, I won't show it to you. If I have something in hand, you'll be the first to know, versus me having something in hand, keeping it, and then waiting until things are done, and then so I'm a bit of an impatient person, as you might already realize by now. So we are very keen to share. We just can't wait. The moment I got the pictures of the antagonist cyborg from our sculptor, I put together a quick video, and that's how fast I run. Yeah.
I will say, just going through some of these comments, there are a lot of people here asking about John Thunder and the other two Centurions. So, if I may, Ace, I think you should actually do a poll and just see whether or not people actually are really interested, at least in those two figures, because I think pardon me. I think Michael's suggestion of whether or not glow in the dark. I think there are a heck of a lot of people just listening to the Super 7 talk. There are a lot of people who are into glow in the dark figures, and I think that actually might be another one which is a home run for you guys. I think that's possible for sure.
To add to that, if we were to do those two characters, one of them definitely requires a new tool body. If we're to be keeping to some nostalgia, so that would mean that particular new tool body will probably only get like a run.
Yeah.
So that is something that we need to really calculate. So I would say, let us concentrate on getting this SilverHawks license under wraps first. And then with the revenue that is generated from that, we could probably allocate the funds to do these two characters later on, versus trying to cram them in now. And then, like I said, making ourselves look like a one-trick pony. Yeah.
I want to just mention Inhumanoids, as it's come up in the chat a whole bunch of times. Do you know anything about
No,
Inhumanoids?
we don't have that. We don't have that in Singapore.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it in the like toys and stuff, but I've not personally related to it.
It's
But
amazing.
it doesn't. Again, yeah. So I am keen to explore. Like I said, once we are done with my unfinished business, then I'm open to exploring what else I could help to take on, and make it a reality. But that is definitely something that is in the distant future.
I wanted to ask you also about the relationship between Ramen Toys SilverHawks and Super 7 SilverHawks. Are they roughly the same height? Are yours going to be just a little bit bigger, kind of?
Well, I don't exactly know the height of the Super 7 version. I've not actually seen it up close or any measurements, but I do know that our SilverHawk is 175 millimeters tall, and that is approximately, but not yet, 7-inch. Not to be confused as to why we're doing 7-inch, but it's because Quicksilver is a taller being, in my opinion, right? The way I see it, he's not like a normal human being. He's a bit more imposing.
Cyborg,
and
like RoboCop,
right?
Yeah, when Murphy became RoboCop, he grew a little bit. I just went on Big Bad Toy Store's site and looked up Super 7's Quicksilver. It says it's a 7-inch, 17.78 centimeters. So it sounds like they're going to be pretty similar.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if Super 7 ever does a Mirage, if the Ramen SilverHawks will be able to fit in it.
Oh my God, the Thunder Tank is oh geez, I can only imagine how much that would cost. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So speaking of this, I mean, this is an open forum, so we're like exchanging ideas. I am keen on making a Mirage, but it wouldn't be of that scale, because I have to also take into consideration people's budget, right? As we all know, we are still living in a difficult time of this pandemic, and we are fortunate enough to be enjoying toys and this kind of stuff, which is not essentials. People are out of jobs. People are really struggling.
Yeah.
So with the passion, we will do what we can to get those money to buy what we love, and that means a lot of sacrifice. Now, if I'm able to bring joy to the person with something that is not as gigantic and not as imposing and not as pricey, something that they can relate to and something that they want, that is what I would be happy as well. So speaking of the Mirage, I am entertaining the idea of doing like a 1:48 scale version. So the figure will be probably like this big, right? And of course, the figure will not be articulated in that kind of way. Maybe like minimal articulation, and then the whole gist of it is actually the Mirage versus the figures. The figures are just to be placed in the capsules, the compartments, and as a fan has suggested, if you're listening, to do it the Caliber Wing style of detail, adding some die cast, put that Mirage so that it's around like this size, right? Maybe a foot more, a foot long, or a bit more than that. So I'm entertaining the idea, subject of course to approval, since now that we're getting it licensed. So
hot seat.
Who knows?
Ejectable hot seat.
Who knows? Who knows?
But that, you know what, that would also if you end up doing them 3 3/4 scale, that would actually really fit in well with the original.
Not 3 3/4. Like this 48. Is to 48 scale.
Oh, okay.
1 is to 48. Yeah.
Got you. So just slightly lower, just slightly smaller than 3 inches then. Like not even.
I would say about 2 inch.
2 inches. Okay. Yeah, but that's would you be entertaining the idea of getting all the SilverHawks as a set with the Mirage? Is that how it becomes? Would it be
exactly. Exactly. So the Mirage would come with the 5 characters.
That's interesting.
That you can place in the seat, without the wings, obviously, and then you can move the hands up and put the wings on again. That's just the initial concept. Yeah.
All right. They're not sunglasses.
I was about to
They're
say.
they're real glasses, and they're actually not as dark as they look. They just for some reason look really dark. They're like very, very slightly tinted.
Just so everybody knows, we've been going through all these messages, and it keeps coming up. Michael Mercy is wearing sunglasses at night. Makes me think of Low Light from GI Joe.
I don't know why they're looking so dark, but
You know what I think
on
it
camera
is?
they do, but they're not that dark.
Are they tinted in some way? Like
Very
like in the dark
slightly,
side?
yeah, just
It,
to
it
cut
could
down
be
on glare.
the UV. It could be the UV. That's so funny though, Michael. That's hilarious.
I'll take
You
it,
know,
man. Low light's cool.
you know what? I was about to say, but you got the camo headset,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And you got the hat and the black. It looks like you're ready to snipe somebody. I think
yeah.
that's really what
Yeah,
people
spot somebody. Low light was a night
Absolutely.
spotter.
That's
not a-
right. That's
not
right.
a
He
sniper.
he was one looking out for everybody and making sure.
Weren't allowed to call a Joe a sniper back then.
Absolutely. You know what? We have another surprise guest tonight, and I want to bring him in and introduce him to the group because he's a friend of the channel, of course, and he has his own channel. Guys, from Action Figure Photography, we do have Tom. Tom, how are you tonight?
Hi guys, great to see you all.
Hey, Tom.
You Noel, Jay, Michael.
Hey,
Good to meet
Tom,
you.
finally get to see you.
Good to
Thank
see
you
you.
so
Absolutely,
much
yeah.
for all your
Oh, no.
contribution.
Thank you for asking me. It was
Yeah,
great to be
of
asked,
course.
and
You know,
thank you to Jay and to Nelson for even introducing me at all. And it was great to actually work with Jay originally on the prototype shots and to do the editing with Jay. And yeah, it was just amazing. The figures looked incredible, and I mean, I still love the original color schemes you designed. I think they look incredible, like the deeper greens, and they look a lot more realistic. As opposed to the neon colors of the 80s. I do like the neon color look too, but I do much rather the original color schemes. I think you did a great job with the color choices, and I think they look great. They actually look like, military outfits as opposed to kind of bright neon greens and so forth. It still looks good, and it's definitely nostalgic, but I do prefer the original colors that you came up with originally as well.
so Tom,
Thank you so much.
you're talking very fast.
Sorry.
Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what? Well, actually, let's let Ace first explain your relationship with Ramen Toy, and then you can jump in.
Oh, great. Thanks, Jay. And thanks, Tom. So Jay, it all started with Jay, definitely, right? Because I sent Jay the prototype, the test shot samples, and you sort of passed them to Tom and he in turn used his tremendous skill to, graphically enhance them and make them in color. And one thing led to another, and again, like I said, we are a small outfit, and I thought that since we had some issues initially with like the eyes, so I thought, hey, Tom, could you help me out and help us to create the eyes pattern for the figures going forward? And that's what he did. And he also helped us out with editing the product images that I've taken with my DSLR, but I've not Photoshopped again. Michael, you mentioned earlier if I know Photoshop. No, I don't. I don't know Photoshop. And so Tom helped us out with the images that you see on our Facebook page, and the would-be pet printed eyes. Those graphics would have been, the creation of Tom. So there you go.
Awesome. So, Tom, why don't you go ahead and give us an overrun about how you did that really quickly and how difficult it was, because we're talking about figures which have heads about that small. So, what were some of the difficulties in getting some of that artwork done?
The ironic thing was that I had actually done the original shot that I showed Ace in Photoshop, and I had just actually done the work in Photoshop initially and just used the ellipse tool to basically just add the eyes in. And he liked the look of the shot that I sent back to him, and then he had asked me if I was interested, and I said absolutely. It would be a lot of fun, and it was a great opportunity to actually be involved in the projects. And he mentioned that he needed them done in Adobe Illustrator, which I hadn't used in almost 10 years. So it had been a long time since I played with the program. And so I went in and I started, again, playing with it. And I actually contacted you, Jay, because there were some things I was actually having a bit of a challenge with. And you'd explain to me, okay, yeah, it's done like this, and that helped me a lot, and it gave me the chance to go back in and kind of tweak what I had been doing. But it was a matter of just kind of going in and trying to add enough detail to the eyes, and not actually think about the scale initially, because I got a little carried away with the details originally. And Ace had mentioned that the details I was putting in weren't going to show up on the figure, so we simplified them, and I think they ended up turning out really nicely, and it was just great to be part of it. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, and really looking forward to how they look in the final product.
Awesome. So on basically, I just again, it was great to get everybody together tonight. 3 Canadians and and then Ramen Toy. This is so much fun. There's a joke in there somewhere, but
3 Canadians and
there's a joke in there somewhere.
Walking to a bar.
But seriously, guys, I'm definitely looking forward to some things. But in terms of the SilverHawks, how did that come about, Ace? I'm really curious, because it's almost as if it just went from one project right to the next, because it seems like you just finished 80s Commanders, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, a huge announcement with the SilverHawks, and it came at a great time because a lot of people. Some people like it, but it seems to be the same situation. Some people love the aesthetic of Super 7, and some people want something slightly different. And now Ramen is able to offer that as well. So why don't you take us through a little bit of that, Ace?
Okay. First of all, I'd like to just take a moment, put up the whole screen again. All 4 of us. Jay, if you could, yeah. I'd like to take a moment to just celebrate this particular moment where we have 4 people from different places, and it's good to connect faces to accounts and tech handle names, because behind those names and accounts and channels are real people, as you see here, right? We have Tom, we have Jay, we have Michael. So this is what it's all about. There's real people behind things that you see, otherwise there's unanimated. It's all behind everything. Is people. Yeah, that's what I just want to say. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So getting back to the Super 7 SilverHawk thing, I can't speak for Super 7, but definitely for myself, when we did 80s Commanders, we already had Quicksilver done, as in the concept, right? So we, in fact, have released those teaser images of Quicksilver's belt, if you recall, back in the day, and it's still available in our Facebook page. You can go check it out. So, we were already showing back then. This was, I would think, in the middle of 2021, that we're not going to be a one-trick pony, and that we're trying to maybe lead people on the biscuit trail, the breadcrumbs, that we're going to be doing more 80s stuff. And indeed, till the advent of Super 7 announcing SilverHawks, no one has touched the property, right? And, having, again, been doing all these 80s nostalgia stuff, for me and my team, SilverHawks was the next in line after Commanders. And we had initially wanted to do it the same way as a third-party format. But along the way, we got a message from Super 7 to say, hey, why don't you license it and do it the right way, which we did. And one thing led to another, and now we are able to, have this SilverHawk different version, slightly at a different price point, because the last thing you want, or I would think if I was Super 7, the last thing I want is to have a similar product that's competing with my product. And that is something that we actually don't really want, in order to keep the whole thing kosher and cordial, right? I'm not in any way trying to compete with what Super 7 has announced in the pipeline. I was, again, only trying to recreate what I thought Quicksilver would look like in a more modernized and realistic look. And that was the only thing, right? We had a concept. We drew inspiration from, I I will be able to say his name, Mr. Luke Watford. He is a great sculptor, and from that we developed his rendition of Quicksilver onto our initial sculpt. Right, we actually improved it because the moment we were able to actually license it was the moment that I thought to myself, hey, let's further improve it, with the fact that we didn't do too well with the faces, head sculpts of the commanders to begin with, right? So immediately I was in Kaizen mode, right? Kaizen is about constantly improving. So the next thing was straight away, let's put in a bit more money, let's get it sculpted right, and that's how it happened.
That's a crazy story.
It's a true story.
It's
a true story. Yeah,
I can only believe it. I mean, like, as I said,
Yeah.
you just finished the pre-orders on 80s Commanders, and quite literally, like, not even 2 or 3 weeks later, like, something happened, and then I think 2 months later, you literally teased out a couple of pictures, and everyone was like, what's going on? Like, it was a shock. It was a complete shock. But you know what? This is the goal, right? This is the goal. Everyone wants to do a legitimate version, right? And this will definitely test ramen in terms of what's possible. But I think a lot of people are looking forward to this as well, because the overall aesthetic, in my opinion, because I do love the cartoon versions of the SilverHawks that Super 7 are coming out. I'm definitely all in on that. But not everyone is looking for that. Some people are looking for more modern takes, right? Some people are looking for more modern takes on action figures, and
or just a metallic look.
Exactly.
There was a lot of people who saw the cartoon paint jobs, and I get it. I instantly got it. When I saw them, I went, oh, cartoon decos, because they can't do, they could do vac metal, but that stuff is going to fleck right off, with all of the...
Can I?
Yep.
Can I just cut in on this one? Okay, so Michael brought up this point. I'd like to just use my industrial knowledge to sort of enlighten collectors on this. Okay, so first of all, in my opinion, I would have done the coloration that Super 7 has done if it was supposed to look animation accurate. We have all these talk about how the 80s Commanders doesn't look like the cartoon. And yet when Super 7 is doing it to look like the cartoon, there's complaints that it doesn't look like the toy. So, where do we go from there, right?
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, kudos to Super 7 for making it cartoon accurate, if that was initially what they wanted to do, which I think it is. But again, if you are following the live streams that Brian has done over the past 36 hours, he has explained that they are also looking at now revising the colors to look more metallic based on customer feedback. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure if that's a final direction or if there's a different version, but at least from what I'm hearing, Super 7 is potentially looking at what Michael has just mentioned, metallic colors for their line of Hawks. Now, on vac metal, the fact of the matter is that anything that's vac metallized, first of all, the reason why it's more expensive is because there's a lot of wastage. Not every vac metal part is going to be perfect from the process. There's going to be, because of conditions of the part, of the surrounding that is being done in, it's just the way it is, right? Is for example, can you guarantee me that when you make a sunshine egg, that every sunshine egg that you make is going to be perfect? All right. If you're going to be serving perfect sunshine eggs at your diner, you're going to be wasting a lot of eggs, right? So same thing for the vac metal. There's going to be a lot of wastage for them to pick the ones that is usable. That's number one. Number two, any vac metal that you put your hands to try to articulate and play with over a short period of time, it will rub off. Let me give you an example. Look at your nice vac metal iPhone or Android phone case, the one that shows that was VAC metallized, is it still VAC metal now, or has all the VAC metal dropped off? So these are the considerations. We're going to be getting the customer to pay this high amount of price for something that they can't touch, or if they touch it, they're going to come back possibly with a complaint that, hey, your expensive figure is deteriorating in my hands. It's a very, very difficult decision.
Yeah.
So, if you want to do something VAC metal, it's not impossible, but you have got to know the consequences, i.e., possibly a very high price point in terms of the retail sale, and then possibly that you can't touch it, or it might deteriorate in time because of, again, even if you don't touch it, in your surroundings, if it's humid, if it's it will affect. For example, why does your toy yellow? Some toys in the same production in the 80s are still pristine, while some, even if I don't touch them, I put them in my display, it yellows. We don't know, because sometimes you may have a spotlight in your showcase, you might have a surrounding humidity, and all these things are just things that happens to our collection that, it's all bad luck, is what I can conclude.
Yeah. I was really excited to see the Quicksilver from Ramen. I was surprised because I just expected 80s Commanders figures and weapon systems from you going forward. And then when that popped up, I thought, well, that's perfect timing, because there are some fans out there who, SilverHawks fans are very happy that Super 7 is bringing that back, but they see the cartoon accurate deco and they go, oh, we wanted VAC metal, or at least metallic. So when the Ramen Quicksilver popped up with a metallic paint job, my dream SilverHawks are going to be VAC metal, but I completely understand the limitations of that. And I also wonder, how would that even look? Like, the joints especially are going to really wear that out. But I think a really good compromise, if you can't get VAC metal, is the metallic finish that you're going with on Quicksilver, which, do you know how durable that's going to be?
It's as durable as the toys currently in the market. If I may bring an example, if you have a M.A.S.K Iron Man, and the kind of way it looks, that's the way it is.
Oh, that's good. Excellent.
Yeah.
And
J-Spec,
Yeah, when I saw the original Super 7 figures that were being announced, I thought they looked great. And I thought, okay, it's great to see that line coming back out. And then when I saw Ace's prototypes start to show up, I was just blown away by how incredible it looked. I loved those really sharp details and the more realistic take. And I thought it looked incredible. The colors didn't bother me on the Super 7. I thought it was totally fine. I got what they were going for, and the cartoon look and everything. That was completely fine with me. I didn't see any issue with that at all. But I do appreciate the silver, because, they are meant to be SilverHawks. And they did look a lot better in the silver tone. But for me, it was more just the actual amount of detail in the sculpt. It just looked incredible, and all the actual great, lines and everything, and just the actual mask and the face sculpt blew me away. And that's why when I saw the prototype turn up, I just kind of grabbed the image and started playing with it, trying to colorize it to see what it would look like. And I thought it looked incredible. I was just really blown away by it. And the 80s Commanders to me just looked incredible. And the SilverHawks just blew me away. I just thought it was incredible. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Super 7 lineup, but I really do like that more modernized take on the characters personally. I think they look incredible.
Thank you, Tom.
For me, I also think that there's an opportunity for customization in a lot of ways. You see this done with a lot of Star Wars figures, where people are literally just weathering and putting battle damage on a lot of these figures. And but this weathered version, it's just perfect for that. You know what I mean? Depending on how far you want to take it, you can actually take chunks off of the top piece of the armor on the shoulder. You can have like battle damage on the visors and things and the things of that nature. And what might actually be very interesting later down the road, Ace. And again, I'm not trying to influence you in any way, but maybe you could do secondary, replaceable head sails, for the newer faces, as well as some additional head sculpts for the new helmets. And the only reason I bring that up is because, as I said, some people might want to put those new versions, those more traditional versions with some of these more weathered looks, and that's actually something that might encourage people to buy the first versions again. Well, not again, but get the updated heads for these ones as well. Just something out there. I'm just putting out there. I'm not trying to say anything, but there you go.
No, in fact, Jay, we have already indicated the intention that we will actually make the heads and the helmets in the original weathered colors a one-time customization order for those who want it. I believe we are working out the details on how to have customers actually indicate their intention, and as well as the distributors. So once we have that tied up, we'll be able to have those sets alongside the new release, and then ship them off to the customers who wants them, and then we'll close the case there. Yeah,
I'm about to cry. Like, see, Michael's about to cry too. I think honestly, those heads, they look amazing. Seriously, they do, and I think I definitely wanted the opportunity to pick one of those up, and the new helmet styles as well. I think that these are great. Don't get me wrong, but there's just that tiny little bit extra. The breathing apparatus for Max, and the actual desert warfare type for Myokan, and for Statham, and for those are the ones they really do get that signature piece, and I think that a lot of people are looking to get that for these more modern takes, in my humble opinion.
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
Yeah.
So but you know what? How about we prod you just a little bit more? Because I'm kind of curious, and I tend to poke the bear on these things anyway. So I do love Bravestar, and I do love M.A.S.K, and so many people are in the chat right now, and I just want mostly because there are a lot of things on the chat. A lot of people are asking about, so just to see your take on this, a lot of people are asking about if you know these ones, because I know Michael and I are kind of into this on that level. But for instance, Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs, I think that is just crazy. Do you know anything about Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs?
Bismarck.
Yes, I do. I do. You see, we have got to be really careful still in terms of where we're going with trying to redo properties in the 80s with our own take. Some of them, as again, the 80s Commanders was really the acid test. It might not even be the acid test, right? And as we get closer to things like, I believe Hasbro has the rights for M.A.S.K now, and they're planning a movie for it. So this kind of stuff might be a little bit more challenging in terms of the way we're going to be handling it. We really do hope that we don't run into the kind of trouble that recently, as you might have known, Mattel shut down, and 2 YouTubers had their channels deleted. One of them, Instagram, was deleted because they were reviewing Jurassic World toys. That was a real shock for me. In fact, it was a kind of a wake-up call that potentially, if we are going down this road just like that, we could be gone, right?
I know what you're saying.
Tomorrow is not promised, right?
I know what you're saying. The thing about the platforms, all platforms, right, all social media platforms, is that we're guests here. I think that's something that we all have to understand. We're sort of guests here. A lot of us are. Some people are making their living off of it, right? But at the end of the day, they can, as you said, they can do whatever they want. But I think I actually think that what's happening with that, and this is just an opinion, I don't really know, but I think that those are mistakes. I think the bots, they've increased the sensitivity level on the bots. There's no other way I can put it. And I think the bots are arbitrarily doing certain things that they're not really supposed to do. Because I've heard big channels as big as like 1 million plus subscribers have actually been nixed, right? And it took a while, but they finally did get their channels back. But it took their audience to actually get some attention towards it in order to actually get that done. But obviously, the nature of what you're doing, right, is to give fans what they're looking for, which has been tied up in red tape for the longest time. So I see what you're saying, and that's why we have to be, we are trying to be careful to say, Jason Yokan, John Statham, and all these types of things that have to be done. You could even go so as far as saying that Fans Toys doesn't exist anymore, right? I mean, you can say that, but again, things just keep rolling on, right? And that's the way it happens. And of course, Michael's statement earlier is, "What if you never had it?" Right? What if you never had it? And that we could easily go back to that, at any point. Like, what if we never had it?
Because that's an option, right? Well, nothing is an option. Sometimes we can get really, which one do you pick, right? And that can cause a lot of stress. Like, which one? There's so many options and not enough money. Well, one of the options is zero, nothing. That's an option. So, if there's a lot of options that cause some upset or unhappiness, always remember that there's zero as an option, and that might be the one that sucks the most. So, in terms of SilverHawks, it's been forever since they've been out. They didn't get a whole bunch of different scales and iterations back in the day. So the fact that we're getting Super 7 cartoon accurate SilverHawks, and now more realistic looking, like the Ramen Quicksilver looks like what Quicksilver, I imagine, would look like in a live action SilverHawks movie. And if we don't get a live action movie, hey, a figure of what a movie figure would look like works for me. It's cool to have the option. If you can get them both, man, you're super lucky. If you can only pick one, you're super lucky to have one of the two. And if you don't like either one, then pick option 0, pick option nothing.
I wish to also add, given the opportunity of this platform to just, air things out, again, on the fact of, or on the topic of licensing and fans, I have come across some fans. There's a fraction of the community who are adamant that no third party is allowed. It's either license or bust. And that puts us in a very difficult position, because if you have the fans who are, as I will use the word, fanatic enough to say that, hey, I don't want an accurate this and that if it's not licensed. You hear what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
And I'll give you a real life example, because it's out there, right? I'll give you an example right now, a real life example with my Caliber Wings experience. And this, for those who are watching, you can have your say, but this is what it is. Caliber Wings did all it could to secure a license with the Japanese property of Macross, otherwise Robotech. So we all know that the Macross fandom is a very easily agitated one. They are really hardcore fans, and myself included was a fan of Macross. And I wanted to do Macross stuff, so I approached the original licensor, right, which is in Japan. But as we all know, the Japanese have a way of doing things whereby they don't really license it out to foreign properties, foreign entities. So that was what I experienced. Again, I could be wrong, but that was what I did. I actually thought that they wouldn't license it to a foreign entity, and hence I actually asked my Japanese distributor to go get the license for me. So I was prepared. Again, I mentioned this. I was prepared to not even call it my brand, which is Caliber Wings. I was prepared to call it any other brand, the distributor's name, whatever, as long as I can bring that product to the fans, and that product that's made by me that is accurate. I was prepared to forego any credits or namesake. But even this route that I went to, the licensor wasn't going to entertain it. They weren't interested. right? Simple as they weren't interested. So the next best thing was I went back to the US site, which is Robotech by Harmony Gold, and I got the license through Harmony Gold to do that particular aspect of the Macross. But that only led to so much because Harmony Gold themselves don't have the full range of the Macross license. But long story short, there was just one other item I wanted to do before I retired, right? Before tomorrow never came. So that was the Macross Zero's F14. And I had developed a nice F14 model in diecast, and I wanted to just put that Macross Zero's livery onto the F14 as a sort of like, at least I've done it. So I submitted my designs to Wonder Festival in Japan, which I initially got the approval for to license it only for Wonder Festival. And I'll be happy enough to just at least license it for Wonder Festival. At least I've done it, which I've done it once in 2017 for the initial F14 in S and J type colors. Again, for those who might not know what's going on, just Google it. It's all around the internet. So finally, when I was applying for my next year's license for Wonder Festival, they approved it. And then just 1 month before the license, 1 month before the event, I got a call from my Japanese guy who helped me to process the whole thing and said that your license is now what's the word? Rejected, right? So I was kind of shocked. So from then on, it went all downhill because the reason why the license was rejected was because fans had complained to the licensor that I'm doing, business with the US. And that caused like a colossal clash between the purists and so it's so strange. It's so strange. So in the end, I went with my heart and I released the said product as a third party. I never called it anything that's Macross Zero. I released it as a third party. It's the most accurate rendition of that particular jet in the animation out there. Even, I would say, better than what the Japanese themselves have done. And yet I got a ton of backlash and I was singled out by the licensor in Japan, Big West, that our product is a pirated version, it's unauthorized, and that the creators were not duly compensated. Now, wait a minute. I asked for the license. I wanted to compensate you for the license. You said no. And yet you are saying that exactly that you are not compensated. So anyway, I don't want to go too much into all this, but I'm just trying to say that at the end of the day, there are a certain section of people that is really, if you don't license it, don't do it. So quite a story, huh?
That is quite the story. I got to tell you, yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah. It's fascinating being able to hear from someone who's actually in the industry and how things actually work. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're fans. We love this kind of stuff. This is why we're passionate about these things. And you know what? Just having the opportunity to see 80s Commanders again. Again, just something that's just so beautiful about that. And now the future just keeps getting brighter and brighter with the SilverHawks and hopefully new things. I'm getting a lot of chatter about M.A.S.K. Do you know anything about M.A.S.K, Ace, at all? Like, is that something at all that's possible?
So as a kid growing up, I only had Condor initially because that was the lowest hanging fruit. It was the cheapest item in the whole M.A.S.K line before Vampire came along, right? So it was Condor. So I got Condor, and then I asked my mom, just give me more budget to get Thunderhawk. And I got Thunderhawk. And finally, I asked for Switchblade. You got to get Switchblade. Switchblade is the nemesis, right? So that, I believe, and Piranha. So I got the lowest hanging fruit for both sides, Venom and M.A.S.K, right? Condor and Piranha. And then I upgraded to the leaders. And that was all I had. I never had those cool Raven,
Rhino,
Rhino, Boulder Hill. I never had all those things. So yeah, I did some research on what fans of this genre is looking for, and I could say that I've cherry picked two projects to start. And those two projects, number one would be the most iconic piece, and number two is the piece that was never done before.
I think that's really what a lot of people are hoping for, that we get those bonus figures that are coming forward. But I don't think you're going to have a problem. Like I don't know, I can't speak for everybody. I don't think you'll have a problem with John Thunder or any of the other Centurions. And you know what? I saw something which really kind of caught my attention. Did anybody notice that everyone, like a few people, have been asking for Crystal?
Crystal King.
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome.
What about the orangutan?
I know, right?
And there's a drop
Shadow.
too.
And Shadow.
That's right. You gotta, that would have to come in a 3-pack, right? They would
have the Husky.
Yeah, that would definitely be. I would
quite possible
for that.
Well, Shadow is probably more likely because he actually had the harness with the weapons on them.
That's right.
Shadow had a weapon system.
He had the rocket launcher, right? Like, oh my gosh! But did John Thunder have an animal companion? I can't remember anymore. Like, I might be mixing it up with Spirit Iron, probably. Yeah. But yeah, I would definitely love to see a take on Crystal. Was Crystal ever made? I don't ever think she was. She was never. She was just a support character for the most part, right? Like,
they only did 5 figures. It was
Yeah, well, yeah, and then
they barely made the main 3 guys.
I know, that was crazy. But it's fascinating to look at the additional weapon systems that would have come out, and and of course, one thing I think, if I'm gonna again prod the bear, poke the bear a little bit more, I think you really have to come out with the artillery, green. What were they called, Michael? The green foot soldiers,
traumatizers.
The traumatizers.
Yeah,
exactly,
that's a big one.
Exactly, because
those go for so much money on eBay now. It's insane.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that the traumatizers would be huge, and
because it's an army builder.
100%. Right? You can just keep producing them as many as you want. People will buy them in multi-packs, right? And that could be your first multi-pack. You know what I mean? Like, that would be crazy. And of course, the aerial interceptors. What were they called again?
Doom Strafers.
Doom Strafers, exactly. See, Michael, you should just run this whole thing. You know what you're doing. But seriously, those two alone, right? Those two alone would be insane. Obviously, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I mean, like, we've got the Nemesis Enforcer, or whatever what's it called again? The
antagonist,
the cyborg antagonist. I don't know why I love Nemesis. I love the idea of Nemesis. So I always keep to try to jam that in there somehow. But yeah, I think definitely those the traumatizers alone would be just something that everyone wants, right? And even if you do it at a certain scale, like, people are just gonna keep wanting them because they're just so unique. But what's your take on spring-loaded weapon systems, Ace? Just, again, I keep poking the bear, but this is what I do. So what's your take on spring-loaded weapons?
You see, although I really appreciate how Mattel has kept the playability of the Motu characters in their Origins line, I'm always thinking about that, and I think that for me, having components would actually reduce the ability to capture the outlook, right? So I place the outlook as a primary concern in all our development. Function to be second. So things like spring-loaded mechanism is going to be not something that I will incorporate unless I can do so in the most discreet manner. Meaning that, for example, for a spring-loaded thing to happen, first of all, you got to have the spring. And the spring comes in a certain size. And if the spring is too small, it doesn't have the propulsion ability, the power to propel what you're trying to propel. Mm-hmm. And then again, you need to have a release button. So that button, unless it's so, discreet, is going to stick out like a sore thumb. So these are the concerns that you have. Do you want to have an accurate looking character, or you want to have a character that is accurate looking but with things that doesn't look accurate? It's that was always my concern. To have something that is accurate and not having things stick out so that they perform the function.
Yeah, I've never thought about that before. The spring buttons on the original Centurions aren't discrete at all, and it works for them because they're 80s toys. But with the style that you're doing, a more realistic, movie, live action movie type of look, the big button would take a lot away from it, especially if it's a giant button on the shoulder rocket or on the backpack.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be giant, but in most cases, for something to actually activate, it has to have enough sticking out for it to actually release, right? If it's too small, it doesn't have the. I mean, this is all physics, right? It's all mechanics. If it's too small, it probably wouldn't have what is to capture what is holding, that sort of thing. Yeah,
it's a good
I think
point.
another issue tends to be that a lot of the time those parts tend to wear out over time as well, and they just won't stay in place. I mean, I can think of all the old Chogokin robots that came with the fisset with fire, and between losing the parts or then just the springs giving out, you could never get them to stay in place anymore. The plastic actually cracked or chipped off, and they wouldn't lock in place anymore, and that always became a nightmare as well. So, I mean, it's nice to have the gimmicks, but over time, and especially when you're just displaying them, a lot of guys, our age, are just collecting to display them. They're not looking to, play with them for the most part. So basically, have those gimmicks. It can drive the cost up, and then on top of that, if they wear out, if you are choosing to play with them, then you get stuck with some broken parts, and then they're just not worth having.
It was actually kind of a relief to me when I saw that the ground commander rocket didn't fire, because my rockets won't stay in any of my Jake Rockwells. I have a couple of them because I wanted a couple of figures with the different weapon systems, and that rocket just will not stay in the thing. So when I saw it didn't fire, I was like, oh good, because it just keeps firing out and hitting something and dominoes, and that was kind of like, oh well, I won't miss that one.
That thing is dangerous, man. It's gonna take an eye out. I swear to God. The spring that they used in Jake's bazooka. I remember one time I was just loading it up, and it literally hit me right in the forehead, and I was like, "What?
You gotta wear a hockey mask with a plate."
Yeah, I had a welt for the rest of the day. It was just so bad, right?
Hey man, the 80s, man, it was the Wild West.
It was crazy.
Not to mention, right? If you have something that requires a mechanism, it has got to be made of ABS. There's no two ways about it. Anything that requires a mechanism, either a light, a battery, a spring, it has to be made with ABS, because only with ABS can the tolerance be controlled. If it's PVC, sometimes you have deformation, which is what some of our 80s commanders experience, our customers, whereby the holes don't align with the weapons, and we've replaced those because those were, slight micron millimeters of discrepancy that wasn't picked up by the naked eye, but when you actually fit the part, then you realize that it's off by a few millimeters. And because those are made with PVC, there is this chance of warping. So same thing for any mechanism. If you were to do it with PVC, it cannot be done, and hence has to be done with ABS. And when you do it ABS, then you have a feel issue. There is no, as we call it in Chinese, 手感, like the way you feel it in your hand between a metal and a plastic. There is that feel. Sometimes you want something to be a bit more heft, right? So with ABS, it's lighter. So these are all the little considerations that most collectors might not realize, but is the actual fact.
I've never noticed that.
Absolutely. Again, it's fascinating seeing having this opportunity to chat about these these new techniques and different ways of doing these. So what I want to do right now is, unfortunately, there's just so many some people in the chat. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a Russian roulette style. I'm basically just going to twirl it and then pick the first question that comes up. So guys, this is the only fair way to do it. I've been periodically flashing everybody's comments on the screen, but there's just way too much. So let's pick a few and answer a few of them here. So the first one is Hector Medina. Question for Ace: What line/brands have you been involved with in the past?
Right. So when I came to Hong Kong back in 2005, I worked on iRobot, the one half-scale bus, the NS5 and NS4 with Popbox collectibles. And then after I was able to meet with Toynami, Mr. George Son, who provided the company which I was working for with the Robotech license to do the, back then it was very hit to have the Medicom 112 scale, right? So we're trying to do a 112 scale, which we did, figures of the characters in Robotech. And then came the 2007 Transformers, the movie, and we got that license and we developed 12-inch head helmets of Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, and we developed like magnet heads and figure carabiners, and then we actually did all like 4 movies up to Dark of the Moon, and along the way came The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger's Joker, and we actually designed this really small bat pod that is a pull back mechanism. Actually goes for quite a lot on eBay now, if I'm not mistaken. And so I've done those, and I came out and I did for myself the first time the Age of Extinction license with coin banks and field carabiners of the Transformers movie. And that was all I did until now, because as I was mentioning earlier, these licenses cost a lot of money. And I didn't want to like go deep into the Transformers bandwagon where it's so crowded. Even nowadays, when I see a new Optimus Prime movie, I'm like, oh man, not again. Yeah. Is Jay around? Has left the building?
Mega J, he's
Just to touch on the third-party thing as well, quite honestly, I mean, I like the fact that you do have those third-party companies out there. Like Michael was mentioning earlier with the Transformers line, they've come up with some incredible third-party Transformers, and you see Takara and Hasbro taking some of those ideas and those actual designs and making their own versions afterwards. So they're getting the better quality versions afterwards through the official licenses as well, like the train bots that are coming out in the MP line as well. They look incredible, and had it not been for I believe it's a Fan Toys version that's coming out, I don't think Takara would have touched that and made that size of scale and like a masterpiece combiner, had they not seen the third-party ones, basically coming up. And then on top of that, the Hasbro one, I believe they had that auto-transforming Optimus Prime with the lights and sounds and the sound gimmick, and that was a third-party toy initially as well that they actually chose to go out and find and license as well. So, and Hasbro's working with a lot of smaller companies now as well, especially with the Power Rangers line. And they're releasing licensed products that were originally designed through a third-party company.
Right.
So you're getting the really nice products based on these fan companies actually starting up and actually making these new products that Hasbro and the other companies probably wouldn't have thought to touch until seeing how much demand fans had for them. So I think it's great that they have the third-party companies for that reason.
So my thoughts on that, Tom, is that it has to be made very clear that a third-party company is not a knockoff company. They don't copy and sell for a profit. They're trying to make something better. So I really hope, my hope is that, licensors, if they get news of someone doing something of their license that's not licensed, that they should reach out to say, hey, let's license this, versus sending them, let's send them a cease and desist letter, because as long as, we're not copying. It's wrong to do a blatant copy of the original and then selling it. That's wrong. We will never do that. We're coming up with something that, it's improved. It's improved. It's something that, so that's it. I really urge, licensors, if they do get, and I'm sure they do, they get lots of eyes and ears in the community, and then if something pops up, it's easy to send a cease and desist letter.
And quite honestly, the designs that a lot of the companies come up with as well, and the way they actually factor in how the transformations take place, especially with the Transformers lines and the combiners. They've come up with some really incredible designs and like some the methods in which they actually combine and how they actually kind of hide a lot of the joints that Hasbro with the original releases would just kind of leave kind of as extra kibble. And they would actually find ways of concealing those parts, especially the Voltron that was coming out through they mentioned earlier. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the Blitzwing. Sorry, with their version, how they actually concealed the legs of the lions and everything to make it look more cartoon accurate, and just the way they actually designed all that stuff. It's great to see companies actually working on figuring those things out and coming up with a nicer looking version, and it's good to see those things too. So,
touching on the Blitzwing, any aviation enthusiasts would be able to identify that in the movie that particular robot would transform into what we call the F4 Phantom. However, in Hasbro's transformation, it wasn't in alt mode, as they say. It wasn't the Phantom, but the third-party guys actually made it into the Phantom. If you're following me, Tom?
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So, I'm sure there's reasons, but it boggles me that I guess if people see talent, right? If the big companies see talents like all these third party, they should actually reach out and hire those talents. And that's what in Japan, what happens in Wonder Festival, right? Wonder Festival is an event that is held biannually in Japan for many, many years. And what happened is that in these events, individual private sculptors go there to display their works, sculpting actual licensed properties, but given a one-day license to sell their stuff. Of course, you get the mediocre sculpts, but you get sometimes the fantastic sculpts. And that's when the likes of the big companies in Japan, they would reach out to these people and hire them to become their in-house creative sculptors. And that's the way I think it should work.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think you're absolutely right, and it's funny because I mean, you see companies and they actually have decently sculpted products, but then you see some of the other people that are actually just so into the product because they're such a huge fan that they want to see it done as accurately as possible. And those are normally the versions that you get through the third-party companies that actually look incredible, and it drives those companies to actually that have the licenses to make nicer versions. Like the MP line, I think wouldn't have existed had it not been for third-party companies making those masterpiece level versions of the robots that actually I think pushed Takara to make their own masterpiece level line. And again, it's nice seeing companies that actually are kind of like fan based, where they want to see as nice a product as possible. And I mean, when you're talking about like a large company where they're actually just focused on, I hate to say it, but they're focused on profit. That's the whole point, and the whole reason for being there. They're going to make things as cheaply and as efficiently as they can to make sure they can pump out as many copies of the product as possible. And you kind of lose some of the quality based on that. Even when they have a nice sculpt, they have a lack of paint apps, and you lose a lot of that detail that they've actually put time into sculpting. And then they finally do a nicer version where they've actually basically chosen to put those extra paint apps. And like when Takara partnered with Hasbro, and you got those Takara released versions where they've actually added the extra paint instead of it just being left blank, they look so much better. And it's just nice to see that, like again, with the smaller companies that actually started all that, they'll push them to make nicer looking versions, and just nice to see that carrying over into the larger companies now and then making some nicer versions as well. But yeah, I think absolutely they should be hiring guys like yourself and partnering with your company to make those better products, because I think it's just as a fan you want to see those things happening. And yeah, cost can be an issue for a lot of people, and a lot of the time it is. And I mean, I myself am a photographer, and because of COVID I'm not really doing a lot of work, so yeah, affordability is an issue. But at the same time, if the product looks incredible, it's like you really want to make sure you do what you can to get them. And the higher costs associated with it, I mean, it's to be expected because you're putting that better product out there.
Absolutely, Tom.
Hey, I've got a question about this is so cool. I can ask you all of the personal
please.
Curiosities I have about the new Quicksilver figure. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel very privileged to have this opportunity. But I'm looking at some of the pictures of your Quicksilver, and I'm just curious, how does Tallyhawk which looks fantastic, attached to his hand? Is it just going to be like a clip or?
Currently, we are in the final phase of trying to attach a magnet onto the wrist,
Awesome.
and then he magnetize. Yeah,
That's great.
is
If you
the-
can get it to work,
yeah.
yeah.
Because
That
the
would be
last resort,
beautiful.
the last resort would be a transparent clip that clips to the arm and then to the feet of Tallyhawk. It's like much like those Gashapon figures, whereby if the legs are too thin, they can't stand. You have a little transparent part that goes behind.
Right.
So that's the last resort. But we're looking at the magnets at the moment.
That would be
I'm
great.
And I'll have,
loving seeing magnets and
I'll
toys.
have details. Hopefully we pull it off. I'll have details to release that once the factory gets back from the holidays.
Yeah.
Magnets are the best.
The original Shipwreck, Polly, Freedom, also with Spirit, they'd always fall off after a while. But magnets they're peace of mind too. They're never gonna wear out. The magnet is gonna outlive all of us. The power of the magnet. And I've seen some magnets used in some modern toys, and I just love the feel. Talking earlier about not just the look of a figure, but a feel of a figure. I love the feel of clip. A magnet just grabbing hold and being secure. So if you're able to pull that off, that'll be really cool to just be able to.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Just like the way Grandizer's arms when you put them right into bang, and then
Solo Joker Jane. Yeah,
absolutely. Just
and I did notice that actually a lot of people when you mentioned that the faceplates would be interchangeable through a magnet system as well, people seemed really excited by that.
That's
Instead
fantastic.
of just having a
You basically just take off the face and just put on the mask with a magnet.
Yeah,
so wonderful, wonderful. But these are the things that smaller companies can do that bigger companies just won't, because you know what, they're a little bit more adventurous. You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why.
You never know. Tom was saying earlier about how like Hasbro has probably gotten some ideas from the third-party masterpiece, and that might be happening too. I mean, some of the things we're seeing in the new Quicksilver, we might be seeing them more common in the major factory, the big factory figures.
That would be amazing. Scissor says, Jason the Wheeled Warriors, please bring it back. Do you have any idea what Jason the Wheeled Warriors is, Ace?
Unfortunately, I don't have any idea on that. Apologies.
Ace,
but I can Google it, of course.
if you love the intro, the theme song to M.A.S.K, Jason the Wheeled Warriors it's almost as good, maybe better. Almost as, or tied. My two favorite theme songs of cartoons in the 80s are M.A.S.K and Jason the Wheeled Warriors. It might be the same guy singing them both, but the theme song to Jason the Wheeled Warriors, it's great, and it really hits the heart too. It's a very inspiring song.
Absolutely, both of them, especially the extended version which somebody put together. That was awesome. Yeah. Oliver Belmonte says 80s cartoons like 80s cartoons ladies like Judge JB of Brave Star. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Did they ever make a Judge JB? She was awesome.
They made like 2 figures, dude.
She put the hammer down.
More than that, but Brave Star didn't get many figures.
Buzz. They made the smoking. They made the smoking guy. They made Sandstorm. They made
the figure everybody demanded, Colonel Borobot. The slot for JB and so many other characters filled by Borobot.
Oh my gosh! You know who they need to do though? They have to do what was his mentor's name? Help me out.
Shaman.
Shaman, yeah,
that'd be awesome.
You need to make Shaman. That's who you need to make. Like seriously.
But I would personally love to see in a Brave Star line by whoever the animals, transparent animals, which I don't know if they could even like clasp like a clamshell over top of Brave Star or something, but no one's
him somehow.
Missed opportunity to not do transparent, kind of glowing looking his 4 powers.
That would be excellent.
No, it's very possible. You do a sculpt. Strength of the bear. You can put the bear behind the figure, and it's like that.
You're making dreams. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Chris Lacane of Centurions, of course. We just talked about that. Galadria of Visionaries. So there's another one. A lot of people in the chat are talking about Visionaries like crazy. Now I remember you and I once had a chat about Visionaries. Ace. Is there any opportunity for something like that?
No, Visionaries is very, very possible because we already have some concept images, by our artists. So very possible. I'm just trying to figure out how to do the hologram, because initially my idea is that with today's tech, right, you can actually do the stuff with like a LED screen, like an LCD screen, actually,
my God.
right? But to create the chip, the IC, at least this IC needs at least a 10,000 to 20,000 run for one. So that is the consideration, because we probably will not do a 10,000 run figure.
So,
but we have to invest in a 10,000 run chip to get 1,000 into, which expands the cost. That's the thing.
So that's the other thing a lot of people just don't understand.
Yeah.
Just the economies of scale required to actually get some of these figures off the ground. A lot of people are talking about how figures, Super 7 figures are $60 each, right? Ramen Toys figures are $90 each. But the reality is, when you're dealing with figures which are runs of 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, you have to charge that much money just to get that thing off the ground, because there's no way that you can get the price point down as low as you can, like a Hasbro, like a
like bulk,
like any of these guys, where they're making tens of thousands of these things, 20,000 piece runs, right, for like a Masters Universe figure, or 30,000 piece runs for any of these Star Wars figures, right? That's how you get the price point lower, right? And the thing is that if we don't support companies, boutique companies like Ramen Toy and other third-party companies, they're not going to be able to get these prices down. But imagine, guys, now that Ace has actually brought this up, can you imagine an actual Visionary chess piece that has a small animation running it? That would just blow my mind. I think I would just like lose. I think I would lose a little bit. I think I'm crying right now.
When it comes to Visionaries, for me, it's always like it's got to be the '80s original 3D hologram. And when they did that San Diego Comic-Con one a few years ago, and it had the prism, so many people just went, "Oh, really? Like that's not going to cut it." And I've always thought like it has to, for me to really be satisfied, it has to be that. And I've never heard an idea until you just said with the actual like LED, that's such an awesome idea, because that makes me go, okay, I don't need the original expensive, hard to do 80s hologram. This might actually be just as good, maybe even better. Something that actually lights up and is, electronic. That'd be pretty amazing, and just an awesome idea to come up with.
Yeah, so it depends on the R&D. If I get, I gotta get something going first and get a feel of the costs before I proceed. It's a tall order, actually. Yeah, but that's
I totally understand the the limitations, the order that would have to be made. But I just love that you came up with the idea. Like you're truly a fan, and you're brainstorming, and some of the stuff will come to be, some of them won't. But it's fun to talk about possibilities, even if they never come to fruition. And I love the idea of like an actual screen, and I don't know, maybe someone can do a custom giant one for their cosplay. That would be cool. Carry a little like iPad on their chest or something.
Yeah, with today's technology, it's very possible. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so I was going to mention when Michael mentioned the Visionary figure that came out a little while ago as a Comic-Con exclusive. I didn't even know that existed until Jay put a picture of it in one of his earlier videos, and I was really disappointed to see how it didn't even have the hologram at all. It was just like a flat chest, and it was just kind of like that didn't feel like the same figure series at all. So the idea of putting a live screen in there, that's incredible. Yeah, and if that can be pulled off, that'd be like really, really cool looking, I'm sure, because it defeats the purpose to have the figure, suggested from that line when it doesn't have anywhere near the gimmick. I mean, the whole point of that line is that whole kind of holographic imaging, so to be able to pull that off with the screen, like I hadn't even thought about that. That'd be incredible too. So probably far better.
The Visionary that they released for the San Diego Comic-Con, it was a multi-pack of different
Right, tracker and
Yeah, it had mask, it had thing. It was a celebration of the IDW license because IDW was releasing all these comic books. They were all tie-ins to that, and most of them were crossovers, right? They had like Mask crossing over with Transformers and not Transformers, but anyway, just a whole bunch of different licenses. And the Visionaries one, I think it was lenticular. I think that's what they ended up having, or just a flat.
no, it was
flat
Prism.
I think
It
it
really
was
was just a prism, right? And it just fell flat on its face because everybody, the whole gimmick of the Visionaries is the hologram, but that coincides with what we're talking about. It just did not have the run that it needed to even justify the hologram cost, right? Because this was a SDCC exclusive. You probably had maybe 10,000 of them made just for that one event, and then that's why they're exclusives, and that's why it costs so much money just to produce that. There were like 6 figures in there. It was crazy. It was an insane thing.
It was a bonus pack-in. It wasn't like we're doing this with love and passion. The guy working on it, like the guy who made it or gal, might very well have been a huge Visionaries fan, but it was the spotlight wasn't on Leoric. He was just kind of part of the thing. And, for a property that's been gone so long, you kind of want the spotlight to be on him instead of just, oh, by the way, he's in here too. The staff was really short too, which I thought was disappointing because Visionaries have those big, long staffs.
Yeah.
When you have so few details to go off of from an original line, it just feels like you should honor the few details that are there. Like, with the 80s commanders, one of the big gimmicks of Centurions was plugging weapon systems on, and those are there. They are honored. Like anything that the originals had are carried over, plus so much more. SilverHawks, they had the wing gimmick, and although the new ones don't have like the spring-loaded gimmick, the look is there, and there's interchangeability, so you can go from non-winged to winged. He's got the bird. Thing I love about the Ramen one is you can swap out the wings, so the wings on Tallyhawk can be in or out. So the details on the original, especially with the Ramen one, it's silver, it's metallic looking, like the original one. So the original details are there, plus more.
If I may, to interrupt, Michael,
Absolutely.
You mentioned about the wings, and there were some demands from fans, which I've already thought about. Right? They said that they're disappointed that the wings doesn't fold in, but this like that. The wings are just like that. So if you want to fold it in, it becomes thick with the amount of sections being. Even if we can pull it off, right? Then where do you hide that thick section? It's like a Chinese fan, right? If you fold it up, it's that thick. If you fan it out, it's thin, right? So there are sadly physical limitations with objects.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
one mode would suffer, kind of like 30-30. One mode suffers. His horse mode looks great. His biped. With Tallyhawk, if the wings actually functioned, then wings out would look great, wings in would look bad, or vice versa. So this way you get them both to look good, and the trade-off is pop them off.
And I think the reason why I'm able to do it is because I have an understanding of skill models. When I was in my teens, I already had a liking to do skill models, ethics. I was fixing my own stuff. I was really into scale, and I always like to do things in scale as best as possible. Of course, if something that is scaled down becomes like a piece of a hairline, then of course we got to neglect that, right? But as much as possible, I'm incorporating my childhood love and understanding of scale models into action figure collecting, right? Trying to join it together, because as we know, action figures like He-Man, they are not in scale. They are not detailed like a scale model. But once you mash it together, you get that unison, that the union.
Cool.
Yeah, then with the original figures where you have the soft goods wings, I was never really a fan of that, and I didn't like the fact that they just clipped off the wrist. It looked really awkward, and I prefer the way they've been designed now with your figures, and the way they're doing with the Super 7 as well, where they've got the hard goods wings, just because I think it looks a lot better personally. I know some people really like seeing the soft goods capes and all that. I guess I'm the opposite, because I like taking photographs of my figures, so I like having those hard capes just because of the fact that they actually stay in place and you're not worried about the fabric getting in the way or looking bad. In certain figures they pull it off very well, and in certain figures not so much. And I remember the old SilverHawks figures, there was a lot of problems with them, paint chipping off, the vac metal flaking off, the paint where they had to layer it so thick on the faces and the forearms that were actually exposed for the human parts would rub off, and you'd see the
Silver
underlying
nose.
underneath silver nose. And
and that's the reason. Sorry, Tom, because you can't really paint over chrome.
Yeah, and it just looked awkward. Like, I mean, I was looking at some photographs of the older figures, and I remembered what they were like when I had them as a kid. And just, as much as I liked them, and they were great back then, but just looking at them now, they look fairly terrible to me, because they've come so far, and like things look so much better now that it's just so much harder to go back and look at those same figures and think, oh wow, these looked amazing. It's like you appreciate them for what they were, but it's just not the same thing as what you have now. So I much prefer what's going on now.
I love the vintage Hawks, but they have to be mint or very close to mint. And a lot of mine I got on eBay a long time ago, and I got them either they were barely used, or I got them on crushed card, damaged card. So it wasn't a big deal for me to just tear it open. And when people say your SilverHawks, they look so mint condition, where'd you get them? Like I got them on crushed cards 10 years ago when it wasn't a big deal. That's the thing with SilverHawks. They go from one of the prettiest vintage toys ever made to not that good looking with just a little bit of wear and tear. It's not like a Joe or any other, He-Man figure. A little bit of paint wear doesn't bother me with a lot of toys, but with SilverHawks, as soon as some of that gorgeous mirror chrome is scuffed off, the wings too, the paint wears off the wings, if you constantly open and close them. That really sucks, that you just, from using the gimmick, you're and being careful with it just gets all worn out.
It looks ugly. It looks completely ugly.
I want to share that as a kid, I never had a single SilverHawk figure.
Join the club.
As a kid, not a single one. And I got my first Quicksilver figure in 2014 when I was in San Diego Comic-Con, and I bought it off one of those the sellers that had a booth there. I believe I paid $80 for a mint on card, but it's off the blister, and I actually didn't have a chance to actually take it out to play, so to speak. I got it back, and it's been kept in my closet ever since in Hong Kong. So yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So I just wanted to say this because I just wanted to mention this because he's been on the screen for a while. But Bob Tiller said it would be cool to see a best of 80s cartoon figure line, do a mix wave, Brave Star, Bionic 6, Cops, etc. every wave. Now we just talked about that with the San Diego Comic-Con version, and I think Ace, I know what you're going to say, but definitely if you want to talk about this, that's for me that's crazy. That's a lot of molds.
So I think, again, we have a conundrum situation whereby if we were to make only one character from a certain line, collectors said, are you going to be making everything? Because if you're not going to be making everything, I wouldn't want to buy it, right? We have questions about, are you making the rest of these figures? If you're not, then I'm not considering to buy it. So there is a certain level of commitment if you want to embark onto a certain property, a certain line. So again, it's all like up in the blue sky. Anything's possible. Jay's disappeared again. So Michael has the key. You have the con, Michael.
I have the con. I'm in the middle here. I don't know what else to ask here. I will throw this out for people who are interested in getting the new color versions of the 80s Commanders, as well as Quicksilver early bird special is still on Ramen Toy's website, right?
Yeah. Ending in I think Sunday is the last day.
Yeah. So huge savings if you order directly off of Ramen Toy, and there's also Quicksilver. Ramen's Quicksilver is available on Big Bad Toy Store as well. If you want to pick them up there for a little bit more, the early bird price on Ramen's website is is quite a bit cheaper. But if that's not an option, then Big Bad Toy Store also has Quicks over there.
There is a couple of requests in the chat if there's any chance at all that the deadline could be extended. The 15th is usually when people get paid their paychecks, so that might be a consideration. I'm playing devil's advocate here. A lot of people get paid on the 15th. Maybe after the first deadline runs out, maybe if Ace is nice enough, maybe he'll give people one last chance. A few days later, maybe if enough people.
That's a good point. Yeah.
If enough people messaged Ace and ask very nicely, maybe we can convince Ace and the crew over at Ramen Toy to extend it a few more days because everybody gets paid on the 15th. I think that might be an option, right? I think I think that might be something
very reasonable. That's good. Good intel.
Yep.
Do you have any shipping estimates to US, Canada, UK for folks who are curious how much roughly it would be? Nothing exact.
Well, see, ballpark is that if we can fit something within the dimensions under 2 kilograms, it can go as an e-packet, which would probably not exceed $20 US.
Okay.
Now, the conundrum that we have is that with this worldwide pandemic situation, which is still ongoing, I must stress again, we don't have a handle on when post office shipments can arrive to you. It's still an enigma to us as to why certain packages that are sent later gets delivered first, whereas packages that were sent earlier are still not yet delivered, which I can only surmise is like that. When you deliver something early, and if that thing is stuck at the back of the warehouse, it only is like the first in, last out sort of a principle, right? So something that goes in late might be the first one that goes out. So that is the thing that we are having to deal with the customers who have not yet received their packages, which we are really, really empathetic about, but unfortunately we can't do anything about. The other way which we would feel ourselves the pinch is to deliver it via DHL or FedEx, which, Michael, we have sent your test shots via DHL, and even that took a longer time than, I think, when Jay got it, his samples, Mike from Titanium Hanger. So one of you guys actually got the DHL package earlier than the one that was sent earlier. It's very strange, and it cost a lot, right? Your package itself, Michael, I think it was like $50 US.
Oh my!
Just to send. Yeah. So.
Yikes.
So we are. I mean, it's really tough. That is why we're reaching out to as many distributors as possible to have them in the countries whereby they can dispatch the product at like a flat BBTS $5 US, right? But unfortunately, retailers have also a concern selling third-party stuff, which is why 80s Commanders is not available on BBTS. So it's a difficult thing.
Yeah. So that answers Stuart Flynn's question. Stuart Flynn's question was distribution. How are you handling this, and will we see other fan channels, online stores having opportunities to sell your items? So you're trying to get in touch with other fan channels, other online distributors in the US.
You see, the thing with us is the same I've experienced when I started Caliber Wings. When we first started out, we had that one product, and distributors weren't interested to carry our one product because they have no idea what is the future. Is it only one product? And why would I waste my time to bring in one product if you're only doing one product? So same thing for us. We are still really relatively new, and I believe that there is so much opportunity for cooperation with like-minded retailers and distributors who are in it with a certain amount of passion for the property, as well as, of course, the passion for making a business profitable. And hopefully we can find a nice sweet spot whereby they would be able to, carry our stuff, and that helps in the end the collectors who can actually pay less for things that doesn't actually contribute to the product's price, which is shipping and tax. So it's going to be a long battle.
100%.
It's going to be a long battle, and hopefully we win some more than we lose.
But you know what? It's quite a journey for you guys, and you know what? We as fans, I think at least we can only speak for each other, or ourselves. But seriously, I'm grateful that we even had a chance to see the '80s Commanders again, and just fascinating, so fascinating. Riot Press Production says we need a solid gem line.
Reaction. Check out reaction.
Do you have any idea what Gem and the Holograms is? There's the hard shake.
It was the same company that made Transformers and G.I. Joe cartoons. They did Sunbow, yeah. Sunbow. They did a show called Gem and the Holograms. It was about a girl and her band, and it was a show for girls about a girl rock band. But it looked and sounded just like G.I. Joe or Transformers because it was the same team doing it.
Exactly. And
same
it was
feel.
It was part of that wonderful. I guess it was
Sunday.
What was the series of cartoons called? The
Super Sunday.
Super Sunday, right? That's right.
Or Saturday.
Maybe it was Saturday. It was
both.
Was it both?
It was played on different days in different areas. So it was Super Saturday in some areas and Super Sunday in some areas.
And it was Gem, Inhumanoids, Bigfoot, and what was the last one? I think there was one more.
Robotics.
Was it Robotics? It might have been. Maybe. And the only two to survive out of that to continue on to their own syndicate, it was syndicated series were Gem and Inhumanoids. They were the only ones to actually made it. Bigfoot never had.
Inhumanoids had like 12 or 13 episodes.
Was that it? I guess
Gem went for a while though.
Yeah,
I think she had 2 seasons.
And I think you're right. I think Gem might have been the only one that made it out of that Super Sunday, Super Saturday idea. Yeah. All right, so we're going to take 2 more questions, and then we will. I think we'll call it a night, everybody. But
so soon,
we can keep going.
That's fine.
It's Saturday night, and I think we've covered quite a bit tonight. But we will have a final close off if anybody wants to bring anything up before we log off. But I just wanted to try a couple more here for people who are asking. Rodimus Prime says the M.A.S.K toy line never made Gloria Baker and her shark. Is that true? That is a piece of trivia. That's interesting.
It would be cool if someone did.
If you recall, if you wind back maybe 35 minutes, what I said.
Yes, exactly. No, exactly. Mm-hmm. You did mention that. Yeah. Okay.
Who knows what the future holds?
Yeah, exactly. Something. Louis D. Juaniz Wadinez. I'm sorry if I'm probably screwing that up. He prefers more accurate than functionality. So that was in response to the spring-loaded features. So, yeah, do gimmicks sell toys? I think that's a question that needs to be asked. Do gimmicks sell toys?
I think the essence of the property, if it's a gimmick, you have to have it. For example, Transformers must transform, which is why the non-transforming Transformers cannot sell. So
they're charming, but they're not as successful.
You're preaching to the choir right here.
Your vehicle must transform. Otherwise, if you need to remove the parts and put it back, then the whole thing's gone.
And quite honestly, so I just had a line in mind, and now, Captain Power. It was a great looking series. The vehicles looked incredible. The figure designs were great and everything, but the gimmick where you had the little kind of spaceship shooting at the screen thing, it did what 10 seconds of an episode, and it was
speak for yourself, Tom. I love that.
Fun,
speak for yourself. I'm sorry.
It wasn't what we imagined.
Okay, listen. I know Michael has a whole bunch of vehicles, but I have the what the heck, the Interceptor.
I got 2 vehicles.
Yeah, I got the Interceptor. Or No, it was something Interceptor, the Integral, something like that. Anyway, it was Lord Dread's throne.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
It had a periscope function. You could actually look down and see the screen from mirrors. And let me tell you, okay, I had the most fun with that thing. So you know what? Speak for yourself. All right. I spent hours. It was during the video game. Here's the thing about that, okay? Honestly, I'm gonna get my high hostship because you brought this up, damn it, Tom. I have a whole episode on my channel dedicated to Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. I love that series. I have a DVD set over there. Damn thing doesn't work. The strobing lights just don't work. I was so pissed off.
I think it has to be on an old style TV.
It has to be on a CRT TV. I'm so upset. Seriously. Anyway,
weren't those also like Vec Metal?
Yeah,
there was some Vec Metal involved.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were.
Yeah.
All of the Pilot, Captain Power. Sauron, funnily, was not. The actual enemies were not. Like, that's really weird. Lord Drudge, I think it was just his chest. Anyway, you're talking to a whole bunch of geek here, but seriously, that even during the time of video games, that was a lot of fun. Like, seriously, like I challenge anybody to actually pick up a Captain Power, find a CRT, and not have some fun with that. That was hilarious.
I love the series. I just got tired of the gimmick really quickly, and I just wanted the power turned off and just
get off my screen. Just get out. Get out.
Done for like 10 minutes.
The problem with Captain Power was that the gimmick wasn't something you could actually. It was an idea instead of like a transformer is a gimmick that you actually do.
Yeah.
Captain Power, the gimmick is, well, you go and it's this thing that happens that you can't. It's not tangible. I'm like, okay,
but that was the whole controversy behind it too. I covered this in my video. One of the main things that was attacked by parents groups was that you had to buy a toy in order to enjoy a show, and that was so disingenuous. That's like calling toys. That's like calling Transformers a big toy commercial for things. Which
I enjoyed the show just fine without any toys.
Exactly. We can argue this all day that all 80s cartoons were made to sell toys. That's a weak argument. The entertainment value was there. And it was so compelling that kids had to walk out of the theater when Optimus Prime died. Come on. Like what
He's napping. He was only napping, Jay. It was sleep mode.
It's all Hot Rod's fault.
No.
Yeah, Hot Rod's fault.
It was Megatron's fault.
That's
a whole other live stream.
Hot Rod killed Optimus.
To this day, he's still one of my favorite characters. I still love the masterpiece.
I love him.
All right, if we're gonna do that, let me ask you this: what happened to Skywarp? What happened to Thundercracker? What happened?
Skywarp got reformatted into Bombshell. Everyone knows that.
We don't know that. We don't know.
Skywarp into Bombshell. That's a new theory.
Fine. How about this? Then let me throw this to the crowd. What happened to Cyclonus 2?
Cutting room floor.
We had two Cyclonuses on the screen, and then they just one of them disappeared. And if we're going to really talk about it, where's Snarl?
Yeah.
Where's Snarl? Seriously, where did Snarl go? I think he jumped out of the shuttle, and then he was gone.
Devastator must have ate him.
Seriously. Devastator ate him.
Only thing that makes any sense.
I thought he would have eaten Swoop first. He's got like wings that you can
He took over for Blaster. He was controlling the console and operating Autobot City.
The Decepticons swarmed him and took chunks out.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take one. Unfortunately, we'll take one more question, guys, and then we'll talk a little bit longer. And then Nick Brandal says, I received my early bird commanders really fast. I paid for DHL and FedEx, but I think it was worth it. In the long run, just awesome. So Nick, thank you so much for that. That's awesome.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, like, seriously, like I personally, I'm in love with these things. They're jewelers. The packaging design too. Again, I'm a packaging design nerd, so I'm gonna say it this way. But I love what you did with the cutout. That is not cheap. All right, I know how much it costs to actually get a die just for that little dome. Like seriously, the fact that that happens, and I always have to say, I think cheap printing in China must be damn more affordable than it is here because that die would have cost a fortune. I know that for a fact. And you have three separate dies for three separate windows here. You have the rocket die here. You have the blaster die here.
Yeah.
You got the bazooka die over there, and the bazooka die. This die is ridiculous. I can't believe you actually have it sticking out like that. That's just insane.
Yeah,
Like again,
it's,
coming from a guy who does printing, this is ridiculous. I can't believe it. All right, one
Kudos
last
to
question.
Carlos for the packaging, by the way.
Yeah, I love the
Kudos to
package. It looks
Carlos for the
incredible.
packaging. Yeah.
Oh well, thanks to Carlos. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Like very talented, very very talented. All right, these are just funny, so I'm just gonna put these ones in. Yojo OC says the robots can't die. I challenge that. Cesar says, I left that theater so confused, but at school I couldn't stop talking about it. This is the power of cartoons, man. This is the power of cartoons. That's really what it is. And I think we'll take this as the last one. Soundwaves 278 says, an extension of the 80s Commanders is definitely a good idea. So there you are, Ace. Hopefully you'll be nice enough to everybody and extend that wonderful deadline. Hopefully,
Oh, he's been so nice already, though. We should be thanking him for how nice he's been making these amazing figures. And
Thank you.
Ace,
Thank
man, tip of the hat to you, Ace. Fantastic work. Thank you for putting your passion into it. It's clear to me. I had a big smile on my face the whole time, every time I play around with the 80s Commanders. So awesome work. Awesome.
Thank you.
I concur. These things have been a dream come true. I can't believe that I actually have a set of these in my house, and being able to play with the test shots was an absolute privilege. And I really am looking forward to the SilverHawks as well as another wonderful rendition of these with newer heads, wonderful colors, and I hope that you'll be able to continue with the rest of the SilverHawks line. And my fingers are crossed for Brave Star. That's something that I'm totally on board for that.
Here's an idea. If Brave Star comes to pass, you can do 4 different versions of Brave Star, and they're all identical. All right, so cost saving, parts reuse, just like Hasbro and Mattel do. Kenner used to. So exact same thing. Just you put a sticker on 4 different boxes with strength of the bear, and then the other one with speed of the puma. And there's no animal or anything. It's just the sticker says this one has the eyes of the hawk.
Oh man,
what do you think?
Four like this one like that. No. We'll be fair. We'll be fair.
That is so awesome, Michael. You should be a marketing genius. That's for sure.
This just stuff I've seen some other companies do.
All right, guys. So I want to thank each and every one of our special guests for being here tonight. Ace, thank you so much for sharing and giving us some of your time. Michael, thank you so much for being here. As always, your channel is awesome.
My pleasure, man.
Tom, thank you so much for being here. Again, and thank you for helping with the production on some of these figures. It's awesome. As always, everybody, I'd like to invite everyone to please definitely check out each and one of these gentlemen's YouTube channels, and of course their ramentoy.com. Tom, why don't you tell people a little bit about your channel before a little bit about your channel?
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm under Action Figure Captures, and basically professionally, I'm a photographer, and I do a lot of graphic design work and photography for musicians and models. But since COVID hit, that's kind of taken away from a lot of that. So I've been shooting a lot more of my toys and just doing a lot of photo editing of toys that I've collected throughout the years. And I was lucky enough to meet Nelson Chen, which is a friend of the channel with Jay. And he was nice enough to introduce me to Jay, and that gave me the chance to actually work with Jay and to have the chance to work with those test shop figures. And that was incredible. And I just love the opportunity, and I really appreciate that. And thank you, Jay, for that. And yeah, so on my channel, basically, if you take a look, I've got different videos up on how I do my editing and how to add effects and removing backgrounds and doing masking and all those different things, as well as I've started doing small reviews, mainly pictorial reviews, just explaining the good and the bad about the items with regards to photography and what makes them challenging to shoot or makes them a lot of fun to shoot. And yeah, that's about it. There's videos up on got G.I. Joe, Transformers, some Japanese products, a lot of the Super Sentai toys and the Tokusatsu toys. Got a lot of different things. And I also have my modeling channel up as well under Tom Payson Model Photography, and that has some shots of just what I normally do outside of the toy photography as well.
Awesome. And I do believe you do have a Instagram account that you can.
I do. That's also under Action Figure Captures, and the Tom Payson Model Photography is there as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Guys, also check out Michael Mercy's channel. He's an amazing retro YouTuber. Honestly, great friend of the channel. And of course, Michael, so entertaining. Love your retrospectives on so many different, action figures. The all of the great combiners. The Fortress Maximus. So many great stuff. Brave Star, of course. And since I'm just going to keep poking that bear, but
Good Marshall.
Absolutely. Do you have any new upcoming episodes that we can look forward to, Mike?
Well, I want to use my plug time to plug Jay Bartlett's YouTube channel. Check out Jay Bartlett. He's a great dude.
I love Jay's channel. Yes, definitely. He's definitely. And you know what? Missed opportunity. We were supposed to get together and do that. Talking about Transformers. That
it'll happen.
Oh, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. But we live in such strange times that hopefully we can get together soon. Definitely.
Yeah.
So, guys, definitely check out Jay Bartlett's channel. Do you happen to remember what it's just Jay Bartlett, or I thought it was called something else?
Yeah, it's just Jay Bartlett.
Yeah, definitely check out Jay Bartlett's channel on YouTube, guys. 100%. And of course, thank you so much to Ramen Toy. Ace, thank you for being here and giving us some of your time. Why don't you give us a little taste of what we could expect and where people can order your products, Ace, please.
Well, of course, we have our website, the new revamped ramentoy.com, no S, right? Ramen Toy. And go check out the website. The early bird offers are still on, and we will extend it to the 15th as proposed. And, keep watching our Facebook page for updates. And now that we have a new YouTube channel, we'll be posting also on the channel. And very excited to be working on the new projects that's coming up for this year, which I've already teased on the Facebook. And I've already explained in greater detail what they are in this stream. And there are still more projects lined up in store. Hopefully, it will be what you guys... the taste of Ramen Toy for you guys. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. Again, I want to thank each of my very special guests for being here tonight, taking the time out. It is a Saturday evening, and time is precious. I want to thank each and everyone here who's commented. I apologize for not being able to get to everybody's comments. I did do my best to flash your comment on the screen, letting you know that we weren't ignoring you, but this is the nature of live streaming. But thank you again, guys, for all your support. Please do check out everyone's channel here. They do great work, and it takes a lot of time to do these things. Guys, you seriously don't know how long it takes to edit one of these videos. It really does take some time. And of course, please like, comment, and subscribe to each and every one of these wonderful gentlemen's channels. If you have any questions, definitely send us a line. We're here to help. And guys, I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. Guys, one last time, if anybody wants to say goodbye tonight, Tom, do you want to have a quick shout out?
I just want to thank all you guys for everything. This was great. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Ace. And thank you, Michael. It was a lot of fun and great to meet you guys and to talk to you again, Jay. And yeah, that's basically it. I really appreciate being able to take part in the project. That was a lot of fun, and it was a great experience. And I really appreciate being introduced to him through Jay and through Nelson. That was incredible to actually work with those figures, the test shot figures, to get all that started. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Michael.
It was great meeting all of you, Tom and Ace. Great meeting you tonight. Jay, great meeting you a while ago. It's quite a while ago, but awesome chatting with you both. Ace, the figures are great, and it's so much nicer knowing that they come from a great dude too. It was a really real pleasure chatting with you tonight, and not just talking about toys, but some other more philosophical stuff. And I dig what you're doing. I dig your mindset, and I'm looking forward to things that you're going to be working on in the future.
Excellent. And Ace, last words?
Well, thank you, first of all, Jay, for setting up this live stream. Really appreciate it. And it was great to be able to match faces to the people I've been talking with, Tom and Michael. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much again for appreciating the work that Ramen Toy is doing. And we'll be, like I said, we're always going to be doing Kaizen. That's what I learned. That's what I put myself against every day, doing better and better tomorrow. So yeah, thank you so much, Jay.
Absolutely. I do have one more super chat to acknowledge. Thank you, Japan Geek, for the 200 yen super chat. We really do appreciate it. Arigatou gozaimashita. We really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Greetings from Japan. Good job to all of you. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Hontoni arigatou gozaimashita. Right. So thank you so much for that. And we do hope that you'll come back again and join us soon. Guys, once again, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here, liking, commenting, and subscribing to everybody's channel. I hope everybody here is doing well, staying safe. And as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Geek Proud.